Bai Ningbing and I have known each other since we were 3. We were neighbors. To put it nicely, we were childhood sweethearts. To put it bluntly, we tortured each other for over 10 years. When we were kids, we played in the muddy fields. She insisted on snatching my toy figurine. When I refused, she chased me and hit me. My legs were short, so I couldn't run fast. My foot slipped, and I pitched into the field. I got a mouthful of mud. I lay there crying. Bai Ningbing froze for a few seconds before reaching out to pull me up. I had just steadied myself and was about to curse her out, but she had already vanished. Later, I went home and complained. Fang Yuan's mother grabbed a broom, then wanted to go argue with her family. Bai Ningbing hid behind her mother. She poked out half her head and glared at me. That look said she wanted to skin me alive. For the next 3 years, she acted like a little tyrant. Every other day, she would grab me and start hitting. Back then, she was half a head taller than me. And when she hit, she never held back. My face was never clean. This summer we were 6. We were cooling off in the courtyard. Bai Ningbing suddenly leaned over and said her tooth was loose. She told me to look. I told her to open her mouth, and she actually did. I stared for 2 seconds. Then, too, I spat right into it. A perfect shot. Bai Ningbing went completely stiff. Her eyes slowly reddened. By then, I had already darted 5 meters away. She chased me across 3 field ridges. In the end, I climbed over the wall and ran home. Then I locked the door behind me. She couldn't get in. So she turned around and complained to Fang Yuan's mother. She cried like her heart had been shattered. Later, Fang Yuan's father gave me a beating. Bai Ningbing ignored me for a whole month. I was pretty happy about it. At last, some peace and quiet. But Bai Ningbing was the kind of person you couldn't treat too badly, and couldn't treat too well either. If you were mean to her, she would fight you. If you were nice to her, she would cling to you. The real trouble started when we were 14. I don't know what happened, but from one day on, she suddenly seemed like a different person. She stopped chasing me around to hit me. She stopped snapping at me fiercely. Instead, she started trailing behind me. Wherever I went, she followed. Sometimes she even clung to my arm as we walked, like a little child. Back then, I didn't think much of it. I just thought that little tyrant had changed her ways. Good thing, I thought. Later, I realized something was wrong. She would stare blankly into empty air. She would suddenly giggle for no reason. She would forget what she had meant to do a second earlier. When I spoke to her, it took her ages to answer, but I was only 14. What did I know? All I knew was that she had become clingy. Annoyingly clingy. Then came the year we were 16. Bai Ningbing was in the class next to mine. She really was beautiful, fair-skinned and delicate, born with a naturally captivating beauty. When she sat there quietly, she looked like a painting. Boys lined up to chase after her. One day during break, I went to the campus shop. As I passed the corner of the corridor, I happened to see Zhang San from the next class blocking Bai Ningbing's way. His face was beet red. Bai Ningbing, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend? I was holding an ice pop. I was just about to take another route. Then I heard Bai Ningbing say, sure, I accept. My ice pop nearly fell to the ground. I whipped around. Bai Ningbing was smiling with pure innocence. Zhang San was already reaching for her hand in excitement. Wait, hold on. I strode over in a few quick steps. I grabbed Bai Ningbing by the wrist and pulled her behind me. Then I turned and glared at Zhang San. Go on, then. Zhang San froze. I'm from the class next door. The class next door. So, you just grabbed someone's hand like that. Ask her, what is my name? If she can answer, I'll give her back to you. Behind me, Bai Ningbing clutched the corner of my shirt. She poked her head out and said, your name is Fang Yuan. See, she doesn't even know that. I paused. Then I gritted my teeth and glanced back at Bai Ningbing. Anyway, this guy isn't right for you. Pick someone else. Zhang San's face went red, then pale. After he left, Bai Ningbing was not happy. She pouted and said, what are you doing? Someone finally confessed to me. I flicked her on the forehead. You want to date that badly? Yes, on television, they say dating is really sweet. What kind of trash shows are you watching? I let out a breath. Then I dragged her to the campus shop and bought her an ice pop. She instantly forgot what had just happened. That night, after I got home, I was eating dinner with her parents. I mentioned it offhand. Uncle Annie, has Ningbing seemed a little off lately? Someone confessed to her today. She agreed without a second thought. She didn't even know him. Her parents exchanged a look. Their expressions turned complicated. Only later did I learn that the next day, they took Bai Ningbing to the hospital for some test. The day the test results came out, Bai Ningbing's mother came to our house with red-rimmed eyes. She said something to Fang Yuan's mother. When I went to pour water, I heard my mother say, "How could this happen? That child was so clever when she was little." Only later did I understand that Bai Ningbing's condition was called borderline intellectual disability. In plain terms, her intellectual development was delayed. At times, her mind was only like that of a 13 or 14-year-old child. Back then, I had no real grasp of what that meant. I only thought, no wonder she seemed so silly sometimes. I didn't understand what it meant. I didn't understand why her parents cried. I didn't understand Bai Ningbing, or why she always held my arm so tightly, as if I would disappear the moment she let go. All I knew was that from 14 on, she clung to me. All I knew was that when she did something wrong, she would grin foolishly and try to please me. All I knew was that the way she looked at me was different from how she looked at anyone else. But I never thought about why. Later, through the 3 years of high school, Bai Ningbing stumbled her way through her studies. Her mother stayed up with her every night to review. One concept had to be explained 10 times, sometimes 20. After that, she stopped studying. Meanwhile, I got into a university. It was in a city 100 kilometers away. That summer, when I was 18, I packed my luggage and got ready to leave. I was 1.88 meters. Standing in front of the mirror, I took a look at myself. Not bad. Bai Ningbing was 18 too. 1.68 meters, slender. Her skin was so fair it almost glowed. When she smiled, her eyes curved into crescents. Beautiful, yes, but her eyes always carried a childlike innocence. I dragged my suitcase to the bus stop at the village entrance. Fang Yuan's mother was already waiting there. With red eyes, she fussed over me with a long list of reminders. I listened, but honestly, I didn't feel much inside. The bus had not arrived yet. I leaned against the stop sign and smoked. Then, I heard hurried footsteps from far away. Fang Yuan, her voice was sharp and urgent. It carried a panic I had never heard before. With a cigarette between my lips, I turned around. I saw Bai Ningbing in a white floral dress. Her hair was loose. She had only one slipper on. The other one was gone. Who knew where? She ran fast. By the time she rushed up to me, she was gasping for breath. Her eyes were fixed hard on me. "Where are you going?" Her voice was trembling. I blew out a mouthful of smoke. "To university. Didn't I tell you last month?" Bai Ningbing froze for a moment. Then tears began to fall. She was not wailing. She was just quiet. The tears dropped one by one, like beads from a broken string. She held both hands to her chest, clutching them tight. Her knuckles had gone white. Her lips trembled several times, before she finally forced out one sentence. "You don't want me anymore." In all my 18 years, from the time she chased and beat me at 3 until now, I had never seen Bai Ningbing like this. When we were kids, I even spat into her mouth, and she still had not cried like this. But now she stood in front of me, one barefoot on the scorching concrete, tears falling without stopping, asking if I still wanted her. The cigarette nearly slipped from my mouth. I opened my mouth. I wanted to say something stupid and careless, to brush it off. But when I saw her eyes, every word stuck in my throat. I crushed the cigarette out on the post of the bus stop sign. "Be good. When I make real money someday, I'll take you to get treated, okay?" Bai Ningbing said nothing. She came over. One hand gripped my right hand tightly. The other clamped around my wrist. Her nails dug into my skin. I did not pull away. In the distance, the bus horn sounded. I looked down at her hands, then at her face. I sighed. With my left hand, I pinched her nose. She wrinkled it. The tip of her nose was red. Tears still clung to her face. "Didn't I teach you how to use WeChat?" I deliberately sounded annoyed. "Is pestering me with messages every day not enough? I'm not disappearing once I get there. We can video call then. Even if you cry, I can still see you. Isn't that great?" The bus horn sounded again. This time, sharper. The driver leaned out and shouted, "Are you coming or not?" "I'm not waiting." I tried to pull my hand free, but Bai Ningbing held on too tightly. Her tears dripped onto the back of my hand. "It's cold, Bai Ningbing. Let go." She shook her head again. "Be good. I really have to go." She still shook her head. I took a deep breath. I reached out and wiped the tears from her face. But my mouth said, "All right, enough. Stop crying. You look like a dummy. You're already silly enough. Cry more and you'll get even sillier." Bai Ningbing sniffled. Her voice was muffled. "You're the silly one." Yes, I'm silly." I laughed. "If you still won't let go, the bus will leave. Then I'll stay at your house tonight. Will your parents agree to that?" Bai Ningbing froze. Her grip loosened a little. I took the chance to pull my hand free. Then I stepped back and picked up my suitcase. All right. Go home now. You did not even put on your slippers. Doesn't your foot hurt? She looked down at her bare foot, then lifted her big toe and wiggled it. The sole was already rubbed raw and red, but she looked up at me again. Her eyes were red, filled with an emotion I did not quite dare look at closely. Fang, Yuan, will you come back? If I do not come back, where else would I go? I am not you. I can actually find my way. She pressed her lips together. She pressed her lips together again. Then she rose onto her toes. Her lips brushed lightly against my cheek. So light, so quick, like the flick of a butterfly's wing. Then she turned and ran, one foot in a slipper, the other bare, her floral dress lifting in the wind. She ran into the courtyard without looking back. The door slammed shut with a bang. I stood there stunned. I touched the side of my face she had kissed. The driver honked again. Damn it, I muttered under my breath. Then I dragged my suitcase onto the bus. The bus slowly pulled away. I sat by the window. Outside, the scenery slipped backward frame by frame. By Ningbing's courtyard grew smaller and smaller. At last, it shrank to a dot. Then the roadside trees blocked it from view. I lowered my head. On my right wrist, there were still red marks from her nails, line after line, deep ones. I leaned against the window and closed my eyes. Damn it, I was about to cry. Pathetic. Bai Ningbing really had no sense of boundaries. She messaged me every single day, so often that I started to suspect. She treated my WeChat like some kind of wishing well. On Wednesday morning of the first week of school, over 100 students sat in the lecture hall for advanced math. The professor was lecturing up front. I was nodding off below. The night before, Bai Ningbing had dragged me into a 2-hour video call. She insisted I look at her new hair clip. Then my phone rang. The tackiest default ringtone, at full volume. In a classroom so quiet only the chalk could be heard. It exploded through the silence. Every eye in the room landed on me. The professor pushed up his glasses. Expressionless, he looked my way. I fumbled for my phone in a panic. 3 big words glared on the screen. By dummy. I hung up at once. Then I looked up and forced out a smile. Sorry. I am sorry, Professor. I rushed out and forgot to silence it. The professor glanced at me. Watch it next time. The 3 roommates beside me all looked at me like I was a fallen hero. Howsy leaned in. Lowering his voice, he said, Damn, bro. First week of school, and you dare leave your ringtone on in old Wang's class. I gave him the middle finger. Then I lowered my head and messaged Bai Ningbing. Miss Bai, look at the time. It is 9:30 in the morning. I am in class. Didn't I tell you not to call during the day? 3 seconds later, the other side was typing. When are you coming back? I stared at that line for 2 seconds. I nearly smashed my phone. I have only been gone 7 days. 7 days. Count them. I did count. You have been gone 7 days and 3 hours. You are counting the hours too. Yes, from the moment you got on the bus. I took a deep breath. I told myself not to argue with the dummy. Then I replied with one word. What does 66 mean? It means you are amazing. Really spinning around happily. I locked the screen and stuffed the phone back into my pocket. I looked up at the limit formulas on the blackboard. Not a single thing went in. Days like that went on for about 2 weeks. I was forced to develop a reflex. In any public place, first thing, silence the phone. But Bai Ningbing could always find new ways to torture me. Every night at 8 sharp, her video call would come through. At first, I tried to keep it under half an hour. Then I realized it was useless. If I did not answer, she kept calling. If I answered, she said she would cry if I hung up. If I said I still had homework, she said, then write it. I will not talk. And then she really would lie quietly on the other side of the camera, watching me work. She could watch for an hour or 2. How long are you planning to watch? When I asked, she propped her phone beside her pillow, lying on her side, chin in her hand. Her eyes were bright. Until you finish. It will be 10 by the time I finish. Then I will watch until 10. And then, after that, aren't you going to sleep? Yes, I will sleep. Aren't you going to sleep yet? She shook her head and rubbed her cheek against the pillow. I will watch you sleep. Are you some kind of pervert? What is a pervert? Forget I said anything. And just like that, 2 or 3 hours of video calls every night became part of the routine. Sometimes, halfway through talking, she would go quiet. I would glance at the screen, and she would already be asleep. The phone would be crooked beside her pillow. All I could see was half her face and a huge stretch of blanket. She slept in a strange position, always on her side, body curled up, like a tiny shrimp, both hands held on tight, clutching the phone against her cheek. Once, I tried hanging up. I wanted to see if she was really asleep. Less than 30 seconds later, the phone rang again. I picked up. Her drowsy voice came through, already thick with tears. "Why did you hang up? I thought you were asleep." "Even if I am asleep, you still cannot hang up." "Why not?" "Because even if I fall asleep, I will wake up. If I wake up and find you gone, I will be scared." When she said that, her tone was completely natural, as if she were stating an obvious fact. I froze for a moment. I looked at her face, so sleepy she could barely open her eyes, yet still forcing herself to stare at the screen. The words reached my mouth, then I swallowed them back. "Fine. I will not hang up. Go to sleep, MM. Good night, Fang Yuan." She closed her eyes. The corners of her mouth lifted slightly. 3 seconds later, she was asleep again. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I sighed. I plugged in my phone and placed it face down beside my pillow. The call stayed connected. That night, I had a dream. I dreamed Bai Ningbing was standing in a very, very dark place, calling my name. I searched everywhere for her. I could not find her, and panic broke me into a cold sweat. When I woke, it was already light out. My phone screen was still glowing. The call duration read 6 hours and 43 minutes. On the other end, Bai Ningbing still had not woken up. She was sleeping like a dead pig. A bit of drool hung at the corner of her mouth. I took a screenshot. No idea why. Around the 5th week of school, Bai Ningbing met my roommates for the first time. Met is not quite right. It happened during a video call. I was not wearing headphones, so they heard her. That night, I was on video with her. Halsey came out after a shower, drying his hair. As he passed behind me, he glanced at the screen. His whole body froze. Holy shit, holy shit. He was so loud the whole hallway could hear him. The other 2 roommates heard him and poked their heads out from their beds. Halsey pointed at my phone screen. "Who is that? Who is that?" Bai Ningbing heard the voices. Curious, she leaned her face closer. She blinked into the camera. Then she smiled. She lifted a hand and waved at the lens. "Hello, hello. Hi, everyone." Halsey's jaw nearly hit the floor. Bai Ningbing was wearing a white nightdress that day. Her hair was loose. Her face was bare, without makeup. But with a face like that, she did not need makeup at all. Her skin was so fair it almost glowed. Her features were so delicate she hardly looked real. And yet she had no idea. She just smiled with that pure, foolish sweetness. "My name is Bai Ningbing," she said loudly into the camera. "I am Fang Yuan's girlfriend." I was drinking water. It went straight down the wrong pipe. I coughed like the world was ending. "What are you talking about?" She tilted her head. Her face was innocent. "I said I am your girlfriend. What is wrong? Who told you that you are my girlfriend?" "I said it myself. Haven't we known each other since we were little? We ate together, slept together, and played together. If that is not boyfriend and girlfriend, what is it?" That is how it is on television. Beside me, Halsey was already losing it. "Bro, so you have been hiding a beauty from us. A girl this pretty, and you kept her tucked away. That is just rude." Lisi joined in the teasing. "What hidden beauty? This is clearly childhood sweethearts. Even a wish fulfillment romance would not dare write it like this." Wang Leowu was more restrained, but his face was full of gossip too. "So she really is your girlfriend?" I took a deep breath. I wiped the water from my mouth. In the most casual tone I could manage, I said, "She's got a condition. Do not listen to her nonsense. She cannot tell the difference between a boyfriend and a close friend. She probably thinks we are in some make-believe relationship." "What illness?" Halsey asked. I did not answer. On the other side of the screen, I did not know whether Bai Ningbing had heard me clearly. She was still smiling so happily, as if just looking at me was enough to make her happy. I had no intention of arguing with her about it. After all, she was not entirely wrong. We really had eaten together, slept together, and done everything together. As for being boyfriend and girlfriend, forget it. At her level of understanding, it's already good enough that she can tell you and me apart. Just being able to tell you from me is already pretty good. I did not expect her to understand what a romantic relationship meant. Life went on like that, bland and uneventful. In class and out of class, Bai Ningbing bombarded me with calls. At night, we stayed on video until midnight. The next day, I dragged my dark circles to class. Sometimes I felt like a kite. No matter how far I flew, the string was still clenched in her hand. I told myself, This was not me being wrapped around her finger. I was just letting her have her way. By the 4th month, it was already late autumn. Ginkgo leaves had fallen all over campus. They were bright gold, rustling underfoot when you stepped on them. That night, I had just come back from the library. After a shower, I lay down in bed. Bingbing's video call arrived right on time. I answered. On the screen, she sat in bed wrapped in a blanket. Her hair was a mess. Her face was a little red. "Why are you already tucked into bed so early today?" I asked casually. Cough, cough. Fang Yuan. Her voice sounded wrong. It was hoarse and nasal. I looked more closely at her on the screen. Her eyes were red. The tip of her nose was red too. Her lips were dry and cracked. She was curled up inside the blanket. She looked so small. "You caught a cold." "Maybe a little." "Did you take medicine?" "I did." Cough, cough, cough. She was coughing badly. Her whole body bent forward as she coughed for a long while. When she lay back down, the coughing had brought tears to her eyes. But she was still smiling. Smiling, she said. "Fang Yuan, I miss you so much." "Fang Yuan, when are you coming back?" "I'm bored. I cannot sleep." She tugged the blanket higher. It covered half her face. Only her red eyes showed. Her voice was muffled. "As soon as I close my eyes, I think of you. The more I think, the less I can sleep. Then I start coughing, and I cannot stop. I am so scared." When she said she was scared, her voice was tiny. So tiny it was almost swallowed by her coughing. But I heard it clearly. I leaned against the headboard. I looked up at the fluorescent tube on the ceiling. The tube was a little old. It flickered on and off. Fang Yuan waited a long time. When she did not hear me speak, she called my name carefully. I said, "I will ask for leave and come back next week." Really, her voice brightened at once. Then she started coughing hard again. Cough, 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 cough. "Really? You are not lying to me." "When have I ever lied to you?" "When we were little, you lied and said there was a snake in the field. You made me fall into the ditch. That time does not count. You also lied and said there was a ghost in my yard. I was so scared I did not dare use the bathroom for 3 days." All right. Stop digging up the past." I rubbed my temples. "If I said I am coming back, I am coming back. Take your medicine properly. Get yourself well." On the other side of the screen, Bingbing smiled until her eyes curved. She flailed happily and rolled across the bed. By accident, she knocked the phone over. The image spun wildly. "Bingbing, are you stupid?" "I am just happy." She set the phone upright again. Her whole face pressed close to the camera. "Fang Yuan, you are the best. You are the best person in the world. Do not give me that. Hurry up and sleep." That night, for once, she did not cling to me. Instead of talking until midnight, she obediently fell asleep before 10. The corners of her mouth were lifted. Her lashes trembled faintly. The next day, I opened the ticket booking app. I bought the earliest ticket home for the following week. For the leave request, I wrote family emergency. The faculty advisor glanced at me. Without asking much, he approved 3 days off. On the bus ride back, the weather was gloomy. The trees outside the window rushed backward. I watched those bare branches. My mind churned with one messy thought after another. I thought of the year Bingbing suddenly stopped paying attention to me at 10. I thought of the year we were 16, when she foolishly accepted someone else's confession. I thought of the year we were 18, when she kissed me at the village entrance, then ran away. I thought of the way she coughed. I thought of her voice when she said, "I am so scared." Damn it, when would we get there? When the bus arrived, it was 3 in the afternoon. The sky was a dull gray. A strong wind spun the dead leaves along the roadside. I dragged my suitcase toward home. Before I even reached my door, I saw it. On the persimmon tree in Bingbing's yard, only a few bright red persimmons still clung to the branches. I pushed open my own front door. I greeted my mom. Then I set down my suitcase and headed back out. Behind me, my mom called. "Where are you going?" "Next door. I am going to check on her." By then, Bingbing was already standing at my doorway. She was wearing that thick white padded coat. Her hair was tied in a ponytail. The moment she saw me, she froze as if someone had pressed pause. Her eyes went wide. "What is it? Do you not recognize me?" I shoved both hands into my pockets. I tilted my head and looked at her. In that deliberately irritating tone, I said, "It has only been for months. Bingbing, do not tell me you forgot me." Before I could even finish, she had already thrown herself at me. She crashed into my arms. Both arms locked tight around my waist. Her face buried against my chest. She held on so hard it was as if she wanted to wedge herself into my bones. Then she began to cry. Not the kind where tears fall silently. She sobbed out loud. Her whole body shook. She could barely catch her breath, like a child abandoned by the roadside for a long, long time, who had finally waited long enough for someone to come take her home. Her cough still had not healed. Once she started crying, she started coughing too. She coughed so hard my chest shook with it, but she refused to let go. She coughed and cried at the same time. Tears and snot smeared all over my clothes. Shit. I looked down. I wanted to say something crude, but her hands were trembling. Her whole body was trembling. She buried her face in my chest. She rasped something, but I did not catch it. She lifted her head. Her eyes were swollen like walnuts. Her nose was red. Her lips were shaking. Word by word, she said, "Fang Yuan, I missed you so much." She said it very slowly. There was a breath between every word, as if those 5 words had used up all her strength. Then she started coughing again. She bent at the waist as she coughed, but she still clutched the hem of my shirt and would not let go. When the coughing passed, she leaned back into my arms. Her whole body had gone limp. At some point, my mom had started watching us. Her expression was complicated. Bai Ningbing's mother had come too. Seeing this, she opened her mouth. In the end, she said nothing. Bai Ningbing was still hanging on to me. "Go back first." I patted her shoulder. "I will just go home and put my things down. I will come find you in a minute." She shook her head. "You go back first. Be good. Your cold is not better yet. If you stand out here in the wind, you will start coughing again." She shook her head even harder. "Bai Ningbing, let go." She buried her face back into my chest. Her whole body pressed even closer. "Quit getting snot all over me." She suddenly lifted her head. Then she rubbed her face hard against my outie. After that, she looked at me. Tears still clung to her face, but the corners of her mouth curved up. It was that silly smile she wore whenever she knew she had done something wrong. I flicked her forehead. She yelped, but she still did not let go. In the end, she was truly exhausted. Maybe she had cried for too long. Maybe she had used up all her strength. Or maybe she had not slept well these past few days. All the sleepiness she had held back finally surged up. She leaned against me. Slowly, her eyelids began to droop. Her body grew softer and softer. Her hand was still clutching the hem of my shirt, but her eyes had already closed. Undried tears still clung to her lashes. Her breathing slowly evened out. Now and then, she coughed. Her brows would pinch together. Then they would relax again. Just like that, standing there. She fell asleep in my arms. I lowered my head and looked at her. I had no idea what to do with her. Forget it. I bent down. One hand supported her back. The other slid beneath her knees. I lifted her sideways into my arms. She was unbelievably light. In my arms, she barely seemed to weigh anything. Her neck rested in the crook of my arm. Her head naturally tilted toward my shoulder. Her mouth was slightly open. She slept like a baby. But the piece of my shirt she was clutching never once slipped from her hand. When I passed through the living room, my mom was sitting on the sofa, trimming vegetables. When she saw me carrying Bai Ningbing, one stalk fell from her hand. My dad poked his head out from the kitchen. He pushed up his glasses. Then he exchanged a look with my mom. Neither of them looked happy. I ignored them. I carried Bai Ningbing upstairs. I went into my room. I laid her on my bed. She turned over. She curled into that familiar tiny ball. Both hands groped through the air. When she could not find the hem of my shirt, her brows furrowed. Her lashes trembled. I sighed. I covered her with the blanket. Then I tucked my pillow into her arms. She clutched the pillow tight. Her brows slowly smoothed out. I stood by the bed. I watched her for a while. When she was asleep, her face was very peaceful. Her lips were slightly pursed. A faint nasal murmur lingered in her breathing. Her dark hair spilled over the pillow. It spread out in a wide, soft sheet. I turned and went downstairs. The atmosphere in the living room felt strange. My mom, my dad, and Bai Ningbing's mother were all sitting on the sofa. The air felt frozen solid. When my mom saw me come down, she beckoned to me. "Come sit." I walked over. I sat beside my mom. I crossed one leg over the other. "What is this? An inquisition?" My mom looked at me. In her eyes was a helplessness, an ache I knew all too well. She opened her mouth several times. At last, she said, "Ningbing, what are you planning to do about that child?" "What do you mean? What am I supposed to do?" "She just caught a cold. She missed me. That is all. I came back to check on her. I will go back to school in 2 days." Bai Ningbing's mother sat beside us. Her fingers kept twisting the hem of her clothes. Her eyes were red. It was obvious she had just been crying. She glanced at me. Then she lowered her head again. In a very soft voice, she said, "Fang Yuan, I will tell you the truth about Ningbing's condition. The doctors said, this is how she is. She may stay like this for the rest of her life. Right now, she only recognizes you. She will not listen to anyone else. She only listens to you. During these 4 months after you left, she checked her phone over and over every night. She was terrified of missing your messages. Sometimes she woke in the middle of the night and could not find you. She would sit alone on the bed and cry. Annie felt awful watching it." As she spoke, her voice went hoarse. My mom quickly handed her a tissue. My dad sat off to the side. For once, he was not looking at his phone. He stayed silent for a long time. Then he looked at me and said, "What your mother means is, you need to understand what this means. Ningbing grew up with you. Of course there are feelings between you, but you are still young. There is a long road after 18. If you feel she is too heavy a burden, we as parents can understand, but you have to think it through. Make your decision early. Do not hold that girl back." "What do you mean, too heavy a burden?" I frowned. My mom took over. Her voice was very low, as if she were afraid the person upstairs might hear. "People in the village have vicious tongues. They say all kinds of things. They talk about Ningbing's condition, about how she clings to Fang Yuan's family every day. They ask what Fang Yuan will do in the future, dragging a fool along with him. Fang Yuan, Mom is not looking down on Ningbing. I watched that child grow up. I feel sorry for her too, but I worry about you even more. You are my son. I can't just stand by and watch you like this." I cut her off. My voice was not loud, but it was hard. "She is not a fool. That is not what I meant. And I am only 18. I stood up. I never said I was going to marry her, and I never said I was going to dump her. She is just Bai Ningbing, the Bai Ningbing who grew up with me." My dad let out a breath. "Fang Yuan, let your mother finish. There is nothing more to say." I turned and walked upstairs. After the steps, I stopped again. I did not turn around. I only have one question. If she were like everyone else, would you still be saying all this? The living room went quiet. I went upstairs. I gently pushed open the bedroom door. Sure enough, Bai Ningbing had turned over. She had kicked half the blanket off. Her legs in white pajama pants were exposed. Her arms were stretched out. Both hands were still searching unconsciously beside her. After searching for a while, she found nothing, and her brows furrowed again. I walked over. I covered her properly with the blanket again. I took the pillow she had kicked to the foot of the bed and tucked it back into her arms. She hugged it. Only then did she settle. I stood by the bed. I lowered my head and looked at her. Bai Ningbing's hair was thick and dark. It spread across the pillow, like a painted scene. A few loose strands clung to her cheeks. They made her face look even paler, as if it had been carved from white jade. She slept so quietly. The corners of her mouth held the faintest curve. I reached out and brushed the hair from her face behind her ear. Suddenly, I thought of what my mom had just said. What will Fang Yuan do in the future? Dragging a fool along with him. I looked at my own hand. Then I looked at Bai Ningbing. She knew nothing. She did not know what the villagers said about her. She did not know her mother was crying downstairs. She did not know my parents were weighing my future for me. All she knew was that I had come back. So, she was happy. She smiled, then fell asleep at ease. She treated me like her whole world. While I was studying 200 kilometers away, every day, I found her annoying. I hated that she called too much. I hated how clingy she was. I told my roommates she was sick. I told them not to talk nonsense. I spoke in that careless tone, talking about her, as if she had nothing to do with me. And she just waited there, silly and earnest. Every night, she held her phone, terrified of missing my messages. When she woke and found I was not there, she sat there alone and cried. She was only 18. She knew nothing. Outside, the wind rattled the bare branches of the persimmon tree. Downstairs in the living room, my parents and Bai Ningbing's mother were still talking softly about something. Their voices drifted up. I could not make out the words. I only knew they were sighing. I turned around and gently closed the door. That night, I did not go downstairs for dinner. My mom brought up a bowl of noodles. She set it on my desk. She glanced at me, then left without saying a word. Bai Ningbing slept until the next morning. When she woke up, I was sitting at the desk reading. She opened her eyes. She saw the unfamiliar room. For 2 seconds, she froze. Then she bolted upright. The blanket slipped from her body. In a panic, she looked all around, until she saw me. Then it was as if all the strength drained from her. She went limp. "You scared me to death." She patted her chest. Her voice was low and shaky. "I thought you had left. Where would I go?" I turned back. She hugged the pillow and stayed quiet for a while. Then she said softly, "Fang Yuan, I had a dream." "What dream?" "I dreamed you came back. But you ignored me. I called you, and you would not answer. You just kept walking forward. No matter how I chased you, I could not catch up." Her voice grew smaller and smaller. I was so scared. The pen in my hand paused. "Wasn't that just a dream?" I said. "Am I not right here?" She smiled, very faintly. So obediently. "You are here." She hugged my pillow. She buried her face in it and took a deep breath. Then her voice came muffled from inside the pillow. "It smells like you." "What smell?" "Just your smell." She took another breath. After a moment, I turned to look at her. Half her face was buried in the pillow. Only her curved, smiling eyes showed. There were still damp tear tracks at the corners, but she was smiling. Smiling as if she had received the best gift in the world. Light from the window fell across her face. It brushed her whole body with a thin layer of warmth. I wanted to say something. I opened my mouth. In the end, nothing came out. I turned back and kept reading, but I stared at that page for a long time. Not a single word sank in. "Get up. We are going to a wedding banquet today." My mom came upstairs that afternoon and told me, "There's a wedding banquet. Your second uncle's mother's grandson's sister is getting married. Do you think that family connection is something any human being can figure out? Do not worry about all that. Just go." My mom threw the clothes onto my face. "Ningbing is already downstairs waiting for you." I froze for a second. What is she doing here? She said she wanted to go with you. I went downstairs slowly. Sure enough, Ningbing was standing in our living room. She wore a light pink dress. Her hair was tied into two low ponytails. On her face, I had no idea what shiny thing she had smeared on. When she saw me come downstairs, her eyes lit up at once. "Fang Yuan, why did you take so long? Who told you to wait?" I yawned. "I can go by myself." "Fine." She rushed over and clung to my arm. "I have to keep an eye on you. Otherwise, you will definitely do what you did last time. Run off halfway through the meal." That time, I went to the bathroom. You were gone for 2 hours. By the time you came back, the banquet was over. So I was dragged out the door. The village wedding banquet was held on the open ground by the village entrance. A wide stretch of red canopies had been set up. Festive songs played from the speakers. Red balloons hung everywhere. Ningbing clung to my arm the whole time, sticking to me like a little pendant. Every few steps, she rose onto her toes, curious about everything. When we passed the table with the wedding candy, her steps slowed. She looked left and right, making sure no one was watching. Then she reached out one hand and quickly grabbed a handful of candy. Then she grabbed another handful. When she went for the third handful, I finally could not help looking down at her. She picked only the prettily wrapped ones and stuffed them all into my pants pockets. Seeing my expression, she lifted her head and showed that row of big white teeth. "Hee hee, Ningbing. Do you know we did not bring a red envelope today? Look, look, the bride is coming out." She suddenly tugged hard at my arm. At the far end of the red carpet, the bride wore a white wedding dress. She walked over holding the groom's arm. Her whole face smiled with happiness. "Wow." Ningbing let out a long, amazed sigh. "She looks so beautiful." "Fang Yuan, look. The wedding dress is white. It's so pretty," she said. Then she suddenly turned to look at me. Her eyes shone as if they were full of stars. Her lips were slightly parted. "Fang Yuan, will we be like that one day too? I will wear a wedding dress. You will wear a suit. We will walk the red carpet under a red canopy like this too. And you will hold my hand." She said it very seriously. So seriously that I felt she was truly building that picture, word by word. Wedding dress, suit, red carpet, hands held together. For a lifetime, I watched that newlywed couple walk past. Both the bride and groom were smiling. The guests cheered beside them and tossed flower petals. It was lively as anything. Ningbing's hand tightened on my arm. Her body heat came through the fabric. Warm, just like her, softly pressed against me. I said nothing. Firecrackers crackled and popped. The guests were applauding. The air was filled with the smell of sulfur and sugar. The sun was about to set. Orange-red light fell across her face and turned her eyelashes gold. "I should go back." She said it, but did not move. "What's wrong? You are leaving again tomorrow." Yeah. My bus is in the afternoon. Can I see you off tomorrow? Sure. She brightened, then turned and ran barefoot back to her yard. At the gate, she stopped again. She turned back and called, Fang Yuan. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. The next afternoon, at the bus stop by the village entrance, the same scene played out again. Bai Ningbin stood in front of me. She was wearing yesterday's pink dress. Her lips were pressed tight. Both of her hands gripped my right hand, swinging it back and forth like pumping a well handle. Can you please not leave? She lowered her head. Her voice was tiny. If I do not leave, how can I study? If I do not study, how can I earn money? And without money, how can I get you treated? Bai Ningbin lifted her head and looked at me. Her brows drew together slightly. Her lips moved. Her voice was hoarse. Why do you need to earn money to treat me? I'm not sick. She said it very softly. So softly the wind almost carried it away. But I heard it clearly. The way she looked at me was serious. She was not playing dumb. She was not acting cute. She truly believed she was not sick. I looked at her. The air froze for a few seconds. Then I laughed. I reached out and flicked her forehead. You are not sick. You are not sick. Fine. I am the one who's sick. Fine. I'm the crazy one, okay? Be gentle. Then let go. I will not. The bus is about to leave. Then when are you coming back next time? At Chinese New Year. When is Chinese New Year? In a little over 2 months. How many days is 2 months? More than 60 days. How long is more than 60 days? I looked at her and suddenly felt that question was very hard to answer. More than 60 days. It meant hundreds more unread messages piling up on my phone. It meant her fingernails, leaving new marks on my wrist again. It meant her staring at the phone screen every night, waiting without knowing when it would light up. Soon enough, I said. Send me messages every day. Keep sending them, and before you know it, I will be back. She thought about it, then nodded. She rose onto her toes and kissed me like last time. But this time, she did not run. A flicker of struggle crossed my eyes. I got on the bus and sat by the window. She stood below on the platform. The wind lifted the hem of her dress and her stray hair. She kept smiling, and as she smiled, tears rolled down. When the bus pulled away, I turned my head and did not look again. After I returned to school, the days repeated like a broken record. In class and after class, Bai Ningbin bombarded me with calls. At night, we video called until midnight. The north had entered winter. The wind was dry enough to sting your face. Then, about a month after I went back to school, snow had just fallen that night. The world outside the window was white. I was warming my hands beside the radiator. My phone vibrated. It was Bai Ningbin's video call, and I answered. The instant the screen lit up, I froze. Bai Ningbin had covered her face with a layer of foundation. It was a little too white. Her blush was very heavy. 2 round patches of pink sat on the apples of her cheeks. Like a porcelain doll, her eyeliner was drawn thick. But the left and right eyes did not match. One line was long, the other short, like 2 caterpillars of different lengths. Her lips were painted a bright true red. The lipstick went far past her lip line. Her mouth looked several sizes bigger than usual. She leaned close to the camera. Fang Yuan. Look at me. I learned how to do makeup. After saying that, she backed up a little. She turned her face for the camera, then broke into a huge smile. A bit of lipstick had smeared onto her front teeth. That flash of red kept me staring at the screen for a long time. She said she had learned how to do makeup. She really was beautiful. That face looked as if heaven had been biased in her favor from birth. A delicate frame, pale skin, exquisite features, even with the wrong shade of foundation, and uneven eyeliner. She was still beautiful. But what made my chest ache was how long she must have practiced. How long had she practiced? 1 week, 2 weeks. Had her hand shaken and drawn it crooked? Had she paused the tutorial again and again, rewound it, then clumsily tried it on her own face? She had learned it. She thought learning it would make me happy. Fang Yuan, why are you not saying anything? Do I look pretty? I worked on it for so long. Whenever it looked bad, I wiped it off and started again. I must have wiped it off 5 or 6 times. My face is all red from rubbing. Look, look. She brought her face close to the camera, pointing at the marks on her cheeks from the makeup remover. Does it look pretty? She asked again. Pretty, I said. But next time, before you put on lipstick, can you look in the mirror first? I did. You looked in the mirror and still got it on your teeth. She froze for a second, then stuck out her tongue and licked a tooth. When she saw the red on her front teeth, She smiled in embarrassment. After smiling, she said pitifully, "That got there afterward. It definitely was not there when I finished." "Fine, fine. If you say it was not there, it was not there. Then, do you really think I look pretty? Prettier than the bride." Satisfied now. She was satisfied. She hugged the phone and burrowed under the covers, then started chattering about her day again. She said her mother had stewed pork ribs. She had saved to pieces for me, but they had gone bad. She said she saw a butterfly on the road today, chased it for half a street, then realized it was a plastic bag. She said she dreamed of me again last night. Dreamed I was eating mud. She woke up laughing. I listened to her talk, murmuring little replies. At some point, my face had stopped smiling. After I hung up, my world went quiet. Only the sound of water moving through the radiator remained, gurgling softly, like someone sighing deep in their belly. My roommates were still gaming. I sat on the bed, my back against the wall. The phone screen had gone dark. I remembered Bai Ningbing saying, "Why do you need money to treat me? I'm not sick." Her expression had been so serious when she said it. She truly believed she was not sick. She did not know she was different from other people. Did not know her world was smaller than everyone else's. She only knew she looked at me differently from everyone else. She knew nothing else. She only knew she had to call me every day. Only knew she had to learn makeup to show me. Only knew she should steal wedding candy and stuff it into my pockets. Only knew she would cry when I left and smile when I came back. She only knew me. I reached under my pillow and felt something. The hard, crinkly texture of plastic wrapping, warm from being tucked there. I took it out and looked at it by the street light filtering through the window. A piece of candy in pink wrapping, with a rabbit printed on it, the kind Bai Ningbing had specially picked from the wedding candy table that day. I held the candy up before my eyes and turned it. The plastic wrapper glittered faintly in the dim light, like the light in her eyes that day. She had not kept any for herself. She had stolen so many and stuffed them all into my pockets. I did not unwrap it and eat it. I just held that piece of candy like that. I do not know how long I held it. My palm slowly grew warm. The candy softened a little from my heat. Outside, snow began to drift again. Under the street light, tiny flakes were falling, one after another, soundlessly, covering this world, quiet as death. I tucked the candy back under my pillow, then closed my eyes. Time is a strange thing. When you want it to hurry, it crawls like a snail. When you do not want it to move, it runs faster than anything. In the blink of an eye, I was a junior. Over more than 2 years. Bai Ningbing filled my phone with thousands of selfies and countless voice messages. She was still the same, video calling me every night, rambling on about everything and nothing, as if the 200 kilometers between us were only a transparent wall in her eyes. As long as she kept talking, that wall would fall. That afternoon, I had just finished showering. My phone was blowing up. Bai Ningbing had called 7 times. I had missed every single one. When the 7th call came in, I had just picked up my cup. Seeing the name flashing on the screen, my heart gave a hard thud. Fang Yuan, Fang Yuan, Fang Yuan. Her voice was sharp enough to cut glass. "We are moving to the city. My dad found a factory job. From now on, I can be with you every day." After saying that, she started laughing again. She laughed for a long time. Then, as she laughed, she seemed to start crying. Or maybe she did not. Through the phone, I could not quite tell. I stood there, drying my hair with a towel, not knowing what to say. It would be a lie to say I was not happy, but to say I was happy did not feel quite right either. "When are you coming?" "Next week. Next Wednesday at 9 in the morning. You have to come pick us up." "Why do I have to pick you up? You promised." "I said I would. You set that up for me yourself, didn't you? If you do not come, you are dead." She sounded fierce, then laughed right after saying it. "Fang Yuan, I am so happy. I am really so happy." That night, she sent me a photo every 10 minutes. Photos of her clothes, photos of her shoes, photos of her packed to bursting suitcase, and photos of the stuffed bears she insisted on bringing. The last photo was of her hugging that dirty old bear, smiling so hard her eyes nearly disappeared. She added one line, "We can see each other again soon." The next Wednesday, I took half a day off to pick them up at the station. I stood at the station exit, carefully searching the crowd for her family. Then I saw her. When Bai Ningbing ran out of the station exit, she was a little tanner, a little thinner, but her eyes were bright as to lamps. She carried a backpack nearly as big as she was, dragging a suitcase behind her. On top of the suitcase, A plastic bag was tied there, wobbling as it moved. She spotted me at once. Then, like a cannonball fired from a barrel, she charged straight at me. When she crashed into my arms, I felt like two of my ribs had snapped. She wrapped her arms around my waist, her face buried against my chest. She mumbled something. I did not catch what she said. She lifted her head. Her eyes were red, and her mouth was stretched in a huge grin. I missed you so much. Did we not video call just yesterday? One day is a long time too. She said it with perfect confidence and buried her face again. Bai Ningbing's parents came up behind her, dragging bags and bundles of luggage. When they saw the scene, the two of them exchanged a look. Bai Ningbing's father looked much older than before. Half his hair had gone white. Bai Ningbing's mother had dark shadows under her eyes. Uncle Annie, come on. I will take you to where you are staying first. Bai Ningbing's father nodded at me. His voice was a little hoarse. Fang Yuan, sorry to trouble you. Do not say that. You are making us sound like strangers. Bai Ningbing did not settle down the whole way. She pressed herself against the bus window, letting out one gasp after another at the tall buildings outside. People nearby kept turning to look at us. Bai Ningbing's mother scolded her softly. She stayed quiet for about 30 seconds. Then she started chattering again all the way to the rental apartment. After we got them settled, Bai Ningbing immediately turned her nose up at her own room. I want to live with Fang Yuan. She stood in the doorway of the place her parents had rented, arms folded across her chest, her chin lifted high. Bai Ningbing's mother glanced at her father. You deal with the trouble you caused. Is it not good to live with your mom and dad? No, it is not. You did not have me before either, and you lived just fine. Before was before, now is now. Now that I know you are here, I cannot be without you. She said it like she was absolutely in the right, as if it were some natural law of the universe. Bai Ningbing's mother opened her mouth, as if she wanted to say something. In the end, she only sighed. Bai Ningbing's father had no solution either. He stood to the side, rubbing his hands. I rubbed my temples, then took out my phone and checked rentals near the school. Over the past few years, I had saved a little from part-time jobs and scholarships. It was not much, but it could hold us for a while. Fine. I will rent you a room near the school, close to me, but we will not live together. Understand? Bai Ningbing thought about it, then nodded with great reluctance. Fine, then. But you have to come see me every day. Depends on my mood, no. It has to be every day. On moving day. While Bai Ningbing was not paying attention, her father pulled me to the corner of the hallway. From his pocket, he took out a crumpled red envelope and tried to force it into my hand. Fang Yuan, take this. His voice was kept very low. His eyes were a little red. Uncle does not have much ability. You are busy too, but I will have to trouble you to look after Ningbing. Use this money for Ningbing's rent. That red envelope was crumpled beyond recognition, as if someone had gripped it for a long time. I did not know how long he had saved that money, nor how long he had hesitated before finding the courage to hand it over. I pushed his hand back. Uncle, there is no need. I have saved a little these past few years too. It is enough for her. Please keep your money. Expenses here are high. You and Annie just arrived. There will be plenty of places you need money. Bai Ningbing's father's hand froze there. His lips trembled once. He still seemed to want to say something. I patted his shoulder, then turned and left. Behind me came a very soft sigh. By the time we finished moving Bai Ningbing in, it was already evening. The place was not big, a one-bedroom apartment with a living room, but it was clean, with south-facing windows. Bai Ningbing was delighted with it. She circled through every room 6 or 7 times. Finally, she stood in the kitchen, clapped her hands and said, I am going to cook for you. You know how to cook? Of course I do. I learned at home. My mom taught me. She opened the fridge and looked inside. There were only the eggs I had bought in advance, and a few vegetables. You wait. I will make it right now. She tied on an apron. The apron was one she had brought from home. The strap sat behind her waist, tied into a crooked little bow. The way she picked up the knife made her look like a soldier about to march into battle. Her expression was solemn. As she chopped the vegetables, she counted each cut, muttering under her breath. I watched from the side. Several times, I wanted to rush over and snatch the knife away. But she really did not cut her hand. And then she actually managed to cook a meal. 3 dishes, tomato and egg stir-fry greens, and some kind of soup. Taste it, taste it. She handed me the chopsticks. Her eyes were shining. I picked up a bite of the tomato and egg stir-fry and put it in my mouth. It was salty. Not ordinary salty. It was the kind where one bite made you want to drink an entire barrel of water. But when I saw Bai Ningbing crouched across the table, with both hands propping up her chin, staring unblinking at my mouth, as if what was in my mouth was not tomato and egg stir-fry, but some crucial verdict on the success or failure of her life, I said, "Not bad. You just put in a tiny bit too much salt." "Really?" She jumped up happily, then picked up a bite for herself too, and her expression changed. She swallowed with her face scrunched up, then whispered, "It does seem a little salty." "It is fine. I will just drink more water." She smiled sheepishly, then picked up a bowl and went to serve me soup. When she handed the soup over, I noticed a red spot on the back of her hand. It looked like hot oil had splashed her. "It is nothing." She hid both hands behind her back. "I just bumped it by accident." The pain stopped me from asking any more. By the time we finished eating, it was already dark. I helped her clear the bowls and chopsticks, washed the dishes and wiped the stove clean, then dried my hands with a towel. I glanced at the time. It was almost 9. "I am leaving." Bai Ningbing stood in the middle of the living room, her two hands twisted together. Her mouth moved, then stopped. "Then, will you still come tomorrow?" "I have class tomorrow." "What time do you get out?" 4 in the afternoon. "Then I will make dinner and wait for you." "Do not wait. Eat first." "I do not know what time I will get here." "I will wait for you," she said firmly. "If you do not come, I will not eat." I looked at her, then pulled the door open and left. By the time I got back to the dorm, it was past 10. After washing up, I lay down. At 12:03, my phone rang. Half asleep, I answered it. No one spoke on the other end. There was only breathing. Very soft, very faint, little broken inhales. Then I heard crying. Not loud, wailing sobs. It was the kind of crying held tight in the throat, broken and uneven, suppressed, carrying the grievance of someone desperately trying to hold back, but unable to hold it in no matter what. Bai Ningbing did not speak. She only cried harder. "What is wrong?" Still no answer. "Are you going to talk or not?" "I am hanging up." "Do not hang up." Her voice finally came from the other end, so hoarse it barely sounded like her. "Do not hang up, please." "Then tell me, what is wrong?" "I am scared here alone in the rental apartment." She did not answer, but her crying suddenly grew louder. "Fang Yuan," she called my name. Her voice was shaking badly. "I am so scared. It is so dark here. I do not know this place. I am all alone. I cannot find you." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. "Wait there for me." I climbed down from the top bunk as quietly as I could, put on my pants in the dark, then grabbed my keys and phone. Housie rolled over. "Where are you going?" "Out for a bit. If there is a dorm inspection, say I went to the bathroom." "Bathroom at this hour? Are you planning to stay there until dawn?" I did not answer. I left the dorm building. There was not a single person on the road. The streetlights stretched my shadow long behind me. I walked out through the school gate. After about 15 minutes, I reached the foot of that old apartment building. I went up to the 3rd floor and stood before that blue door. I did not knock. I took out my spare key. When I opened the door, the living room was pitch black. Only a thin line of light leaked from the bedroom door. The television had been turned on at some point, but there was no sound. A late-night shopping program was playing on the screen. The bedroom door was half open. Bai Ningbing was leaning against the headboard, the quilt pulled up to her chest, her phone pressed to her ear. Her whole body curled into a tiny ball. She heard the movement at the door and whipped her head around. The instant she saw me, the phone slipped from her hand. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. Her face was streaked with tears. Her lips were trembling. "So noisy, Fang Yuan." In the middle of the night, I changed shoes and walked in. "It is past midnight, and you are still awake. Were you born an owl or something?" She climbed out of bed, stepped barefoot onto the floor, then ran over and grabbed my hand. Her hand was ice cold. All 10 fingers clamped hard around my wrist. Her nails dug into my skin. She lowered her head and held my hand in silence. Her tears began falling again. One by one, they struck the back of my hand. The radiator was still off. The room was as cold as an ice cellar. Her shoulders were shaking. Her toes were white with cold. All right. I pulled her back into the bedroom and tucked her into the quilt. "Lie down first. Do not go. I am just turning on the radiator." "That is not allowed either." She clutched my hand and would not let go. I bent at the waist. In a very awkward position, I found the radiator switch in the corner, turned it on, and warmth slowly seeped from the radiator. I straightened up, but she tugged me off balance and I sat right down on the edge of the bed. Bai Ningbing immediately leaned over and buried her head against my arm. Her whole body curled beside me like a cat, both hands gripping my sleeve. Can you not leave tonight? Yeah. I am not leaving. This was not exactly unusual. Over the years, whenever I was home, she would find all kinds of excuses to sleep beside me. Sometimes the light in my room was broken. Sometimes I was scared of thunder. Sometimes there was no reason at all. She liked sleeping curled in my arms, folded up like a little shrimp, the back of her head tucked under my chin, her breath brushing my collarbone. Nothing had ever happened between us. When she curled up in my arms, she was just like a cat, and I was the owner whose spot had been claimed. But tonight was different. Tonight was her first night in City A. In an unfamiliar city, an unfamiliar room, on an unfamiliar bed. Around her, there were none of the sounds or smells she knew. She was not crying for any other reason. She was simply scared. Scared of the dark, scared of being alone. Scared she would not be able to find me. It was that simple, and that hard. Tomorrow, I will go back to school. I will apply to live off campus. Once it is approved, I will stay here with you. Really, she lifted her head from my arm. Tears still hung on her face, but her eyes had already begun to shine. If you say it is true, then it is true. If I say it is fake, then it is fake. It is only true if you say it is true. Then I am not saying anything. Fang Yuan, sleep. She gave a soft huff and buried her face again. After a little nuzzling, she found a comfortable position, then let out a long breath. The radiator gurgled softly. The room slowly warmed. Bai Ningbing's hand still held my sleeve. Her breathing gradually evened out. Her lashes fluttered now and then, brushing against my skin. She was not asleep. Every so often, her fingers would tighten, as if checking that I was still there. I am not leaving. You sleep first. Will you sneak away after I fall asleep? Where would I go? In the middle of the night? It is several degrees below freezing outside. Am I crazy? Or just stupid? Then promise me. I promise. What do you promise? I promise I will not leave. Happy now, Your Highness? Can you sleep now? At last, she smiled and closed her eyes. A long time passed, so long that I thought she had fallen asleep. Then her voice sounded again, very soft, like sleep talk. Fang Yuan, thank you for coming. What is there to thank me for? Shut up and sleep. She closed her eyes. The corners of her mouth curved up. The grip of her fingers on my sleeve slowly eased, until they were only resting there lightly. Her breathing rose from her chest, steady as the tide coming in and out. I lowered my head and looked at her face. This time, she was asleep, truly asleep. When she was asleep, those eyes that were always bright and shining were closed. Her long lashes drooped down, casting a small fan-shaped shadow across her cheeks. Her lips were slightly parted, showing a small flash of white teeth. On my wrist, the red marks from her grip were still there, ring after ring, like some kind of silent brand. I did not sleep. The streetlight outside the window cast a patch of orange light across the curtains. Now and then, the radiator gave a soft click. I stayed like that, leaning against the headboard, listening to her even breathing, watching the wall, where her shadow swayed gently as the wind stirred the curtains. I did not know how long the off-campus housing paperwork would take, but tonight, she slept peacefully. And that was enough. The day Bai Ningbing found a job, she was as happy as an idiot who had won the lottery. It was outside the school's east gate, at a milk tea shop on that street. The shop was called Meat Out for Seasons. The owner was a woman in her early 30s. Her surname was Zhou, and she spoke in a gentle voice. When Bai Ningbing came back from the interview, she practically bounced through the door. Without even changing her shoes, she flung herself onto me. Fang Yuan, I found a job. From now on, whenever you want milk tea, I will make it for you, for free. I do not like milk tea. Just drink it. Please, please drink it. Fine, fine, I will drink it. Before she started work, I made a point of going to see Sister Zhou. Sister Zhou, I am Bai Ningbing's friend. Her mind does not work quite like other people's. She reacts a little slower than most. Some things need to be taught to her several times. But she is very obedient. She will not cause you trouble. The pen in Sister Zhou's hand paused. She looked at me and sighed softly. I could tell the day she came to interview. Sister Zhou set down her pen. When I spoke to her, it took her a long moment to answer. But she kept smiling. Smiling so hard it hurt to see. I asked if she wanted to work here. She said yes, because her boyfriend goes to school nearby. I froze for a second. She said she wanted to be closer to you. Sister Zhou smiled. That little girl has not had it easy. I will look after her. I nodded, then turned to leave. By the way, what is your name? Fang Yuan. Whenever she mentions you, her eyes light up. Be good to her. It took Bai Ningbing more than a week to learn all those things. She could not remember the recipes, so Sister Joe had her copy them onto small cards. She kept them in her apron pocket. Whenever she forgot, she took them out to check. Every night when she came home, she recited them to me once. Jasmine green tea, 3 seconds. Black tea, 5 seconds. Oolong tea, 10 seconds. Sometimes she forgot halfway through. So anxious she stamped her foot. During the first week, she knocked over 4 cups of milk tea, burned her hand once, and once poured syrup for a customer as if it were the tea base. The customer cursed her out on the spot. Bai Ningbing went pale with fright. She stood there completely at a loss. Sister Joe came out and apologized. After work, Bai Ningbing did not tell me about it. Sister Joe told me later. When I asked Bai Ningbing, she lowered her head, her hands twisted together, and she whispered, I did not want you to think I am useless. I flicked her forehead. You were never much use to begin with, but that has nothing to do with how I feel. She covered her forehead and looked at me. Tears gathered in her eyes, but they did not fall. After several seconds, she suddenly smiled. Then I will be the most useless person by your side. Is that okay? I did not answer. The day she got her first paycheck, Bai Ningbing came floating home as if she were walking on clouds. When she came in, she was clutching an envelope. It had been squeezed until it was all crumpled. She held the envelope up in front of me. Her whole face was red with excitement. Fang Yuan, I got paid. She pulled a stack of bills from the envelope. It was not much. A few red notes, a few green ones, stacked perfectly neat. Every corner lined up. You could tell. She had counted them who knew how many times. I want to treat you to dinner. With the money I earned, you get paid once, and you start wasting money. This is different. She carefully put the money back into the envelope, then turned and dragged me outside. Come grocery shopping with me. She cooked a whole table of food, 4 dishes, and 1 soup. The pork ribs had stewed for ages. The meat was falling off the bone. She carried the dishes out one by one. With every plate, she said, try this one. Then stood beside me and watched me eat. Is it good? What kind of question is that? It is good. It is good. Really good. Happy now. She was satisfied. Only then did she sit down and start eating. She kept piling food into my bowl. The food in my bowl rose like a little mountain. You eat too. You eat too. Just watching you eat fills me up. Halfway through the meal, she suddenly put down her chopsticks and reached into her pocket. She took out that envelope, then pulled out all the money inside. With both hands, she pushed it in front of me. Her movements were very slow, as if she were completing something deeply important. I froze. What is this supposed to mean? Bai Ningbing looked at me. Her hands still held the posture of pushing something forward. Her fingertips trembled slightly, but the curve of her mouth was solemn. Dowry. The dowry I earned myself. My mom said a bride needs a dowry when she marries. Otherwise, her husband's family will look down on her. I do not earn much right now, but later, I will earn more. I will save it all and give it to you. Her voice paused on those words, give it to you, as if those 3 words were the most important promise she had ever made. My heart felt as if someone had seized it in their fist. That stack of money lay on the table. The red bills glowed softly under the light. Beside them was a crumpled 50 yuan note. It looked as if she had balled it up, then smoothed it flat again. That was 1 month's wages. 30 days in a month. 9 hours standing every day. Earned by standing 9 hours a day, being scolded by customers and burning her hands. I used my chopsticks to push the stack of money back, then picked up a piece of pork rib and put it in her bowl. Save it yourself. We can talk when you have saved enough. What can you even do with this little money? It would barely buy half a pig. Calling it a dowry. Wait until you have saved enough to buy a whole pig, then we will talk. Bai Ningbing's smile stiffened. She looked at the money I had pushed back, then slowly reached out. She picked it up bill by bill and put it back into the envelope. She gathered the money very slowly, as if every bill weighed too much. Her head was lowered. I could not see her expression, but I saw something shining on her lashes. She tucked the envelope back into her pocket. When she lifted her head, her eyes were red. She smiled a little. That smile hurt more than crying would have. Okay, she said. Then I will save more. I said nothing. I lowered my head and kept eating. The ribs were stewed beautifully, but as I chewed, I could not taste a thing. Bai Ningbing had been here for half a year. Every day, she went between the milk tea shop and the rental apartment. Her life was a straight line between those two places. Sometimes I went to the shop to pick her up. Through the glass door, I would see her in that pink apron, clumsily shaking milk tea behind the counter. On her face was that same unchanging smile, a smile so earnest it made your heart ache. But the problem was, customers were not the only ones who noticed her. The fact that Bai Ningbing was beautiful had been trouble ever since she was 16. She did not need makeup, even wearing that faded, washed-out apron, standing behind the counter. That face of hers could triple the line of boys at the door. At some point, boys from the school started showing up at the milk tea shop more and more often. At first, they came in 2s and 3s. Later, more and more of them came. Some bought milk tea and refused to leave. They just stood in front of the counter and chatted with Bai Ningbing. She was not good at refusing people. When someone asked her something, she answered. After she answered, they asked again. Then she would start getting nervous. One day, a boy stood at the counter for a long while. At last, he said, "Bai Ningbing, I like you. Can you be my girlfriend?" Bai Ningbing froze. She was no longer the girl she had been at 16. So innocent when she heard a confession. Now she knew what those words meant. She knew what a confession was, and what it meant to be a couple. She lowered her head. Her voice was almost too soft to hear. "I'm sorry. I can't." The boy would not give up. "Why?" Bai Ningbing did not answer. She shook her head, then took a step back, and hid behind Sister Joe. Things like that happened more than once. Every time, Bai Ningbing refused. But she refused timidly, so carefully, as if saying no might hurt someone. More and more people came. So many that Sister Joe had to step in. Bai Ningbing began to feel scared. When she told me about it, she was curled up on the sofa, both arms wrapped around her knees. Her chin rested on them. Her eyes stared at the television that was not even on. "Fang, Yuan, those people. Why do they keep trying to talk to me?" "Because you are pretty, but I do not want to talk to them." I told them, "I already have you." But they still would not leave. Her voice grew smaller and smaller. "I am so scared." She turned her head and looked at me. Her eyes were full of tears. The next afternoon, I skipped class. I went to the milk tea shop. The bell on the door gave a little ring. 7 or 8 boys were sitting inside. Bai Ningbing stood behind the counter. When she saw me come in, her eyes lit up, but her gaze kept darting around the places blocked by those boys. I walked up to the counter, then turned to face the shop. "Are you here to drink milk tea, or to stare at someone?" A boy in a hoodie lifted his head. "Who the hell are you?" "She's afraid of you. If you have finished drinking, move along. If you have not, buy your drink and take it to go. This is not a study room, and it is not a matchmaking corner." The boy in the hoodie stood up. "We bought milk tea. What is wrong with sitting here a while? Do you own this shop?" "I do not own the shop, but the person is mine." I said it very calmly. Her mind works a little slower than most people's. When you talk to her, she does not know how to refuse. But I'm not him. I took another step forward. At 1 meter 88, I leaned down, looming over him. Was I not clear enough? The boy in the hoodie moved his lips, then grabbed his backpack and left. The others got up one after another. In less than 2 minutes, the shop was empty. Bai Ningbing ran out from behind the counter. She crashed straight into my arms and held me tight. Her body was still trembling slightly. A few girls passed by the door. They stopped. They held up their phones. Their whispers drifted inside. "Wow, that guy is so handsome. Was he comforting that girl behind the counter? That is so sweet. Film it. Film it." Bai Ningbing heard them. Her ears twitched slightly. Then her expression changed. From that frightened, small animal state, she slowly came out of it. Her eyes grew brighter. Bit by bit, she rose onto her toes. Alarm bells started ringing in my head. Her face was getting closer. Her lashes trembled faintly. Then she kissed me. Not like before, not one place on my cheek. Not a kiss light as a butterfly's wings. This was on the lips. When her lips pressed against mine, my whole body jolted as if I had been shocked. The touch was soft, warm, and trembling just a little, as if even she did not know what she was doing. My eyes went wide. I could feel my pupils tighten. From the doorway came the girls' squeals and camera clicks, but those sounds seemed muffled behind a thick, heavy layer of water. What passed through my eyes? Only I knew. From disbelief. How could she dare? Did she know what this meant? Did she know what doing this in public really meant? Then pain, then struggle. It was like a string pulled tight for years. That, in that instant, was yanked hard by a hand, pulled to its limit, pulled until it trembled, pulled until it was about to snap. But I did not push her away. I stood there, motionless. Bai Ningbing's kiss was brief, maybe only 2 seconds, but when she pulled away, her face carried a glow I had never seen before. Not her usual silly, blank little smile, but something certain, satisfied, as if she had finally gained something she had wanted for a very, very long time. A smile edged with possession. She looked into my eyes. Her voice was not loud, but each word landed with force. You are mine. The girls at the door were nearly fainting with excitement. I stood there. Her warmth still lingered on my lips. My mind was completely blank. In the end, I only managed 2 words. Go home. That night, we went back to the rental apartment. When the door closed, the room was very dark. Bai Ningbing stood by the door, her back against it. Both hands gripped the handle behind her. Her knuckles had gone white. The way she looked at me was different from before. Before, it had been dependent, soft, like some small creature. But today there was something more, something that made my heart tremble. I stood in the middle of the living room and looked at her. Outside the window, the daylight faded bit by bit. The room sank into complete darkness. Neither of us turned on the light. I spoke first. You will regret this. Bai Ningbing looked at me. In the dark, her eyes shone like 2 stars. She shook her head. Her voice was very, very soft. I won't. Everything that happened that night is something I cannot say aloud. Afterward, the room was so quiet that only our breathing remained. Bai Ningbing lay on her side in my arms. Her body curled up like a tiny shrimp. Her face was buried against my chest. One hand rested on my waist. But this time was different. Her skin was pressed against mine. Then she murmured 1 word. Her voice was nasal and soft. I lowered my head. My chin rested against the top of her head. I smelled the orange-scented shampoo in her hair. Serves you right, I said. My voice had gone hoarse without me noticing. Who told you to kiss me first? You did not dodge me either. I just did not react in time. Liar. Go to sleep. She did not sleep. She turned over in my arms. She tilted her face up and looked at me. In the dark, her eyes were bright, bright like 2 little lamps. Fang Yuan, I am your bride now. It felt as if something had lodged in my throat. I wanted to say something flippant, anything to soften the weight of that sentence. I wanted to say, bride. What bride? I wanted to say, do not talk nonsense. I wanted to say all the things I should have said, but not a single word came out. She reached out. In the dark, she felt around until she found my face. Her fingers traced my brows, the bridge of my nose, and my lips, bit by bit, like a blind person learning the way. I will save my dowry myself. She said it with such seriousness that every word seemed carved out with all her strength. From now on, I will save every day. I will save a lot, until you do not have to work part-time anymore, until we can live in a big house, until, she paused, her voice dropped lower, until you are willing to marry me. Something burned behind my eyes. She did not know. She did not know what it meant when they said she might always be like this. She did not know when the doctor said she might be this way for life. Her mother cried the entire night. She did not know. I was different from her. I could keep moving forward, go to bigger cities, meet more people, live a better life. But her world was only that big. 1 milk tea shop, 1 rental apartment, a milk tea shop, a rental apartment, and me. What else did she know? She knew wages had been paid today. She knew ribs tasted better if they stewed longer. She knew that when someone filmed her kissing me at the door, she buried her face in my chest and laughed for a long time. That was all she knew. She did not know how long it took me to dare to nod. After a long time, so long I thought she had fallen asleep. I opened my eyes and found hers in the dark. Looking at her, I gave 1 small nod. The movement was very slight, so slight that even I was not sure whether I had moved at all. But Bai Ningbing felt it. Her face against my chest, felt that tiny tremor. Her body shivered softly. She did not speak. She did not laugh or cry. She only buried her face deeper into my chest. Her fingers clutched the hem of my shirt. Outside the window, the street lights came on. Orange light spilled through the thin curtains. It laid a faint, gentle glow across the floor. Bai Ningbing fell asleep. This time, she truly slept. Her breathing was even and steady. The corners of her mouth were slightly raised. I did not sleep. I stared at the ceiling. My mind was a mess. I thought of that stack of crumpled money, the red bills gleaming under the light. I thought of her saying, until you are willing to marry me. The certainty in her voice, as if it was bound to happen, not because she believed it, but because every day, in her own way, with all her strength, with her limited understanding and endless stubbornness, she was making it real, little by little. But I could not marry her. At least, not now. What could I marry her with? The little money I earned from part-time work each month, the few hundred yuan she had saved for her dowry, my 21-year-old self, who could barely support himself. But she was saving. She truly was. She would fold every bill neatly. She would tuck them under her pillow and touch them every day to make sure they were still there. She would look at that envelope and say, "There is a little more today." She did not know the money in that envelope could not buy even 1 square meter of a home in the city. She only knew she was saving. Once she saved enough, she would be my bride. I lowered my head and looked at the person asleep in my arms. A tear still clung to her lashes. It glinted once in the streetlight, like a very tiny star. I reached out and wiped that tear away. Then I closed my eyes. On graduation day, Bai Ningbin was even more excited than I was. She took half a day off. She wore the white dress I had bought her. Standing on tiptoe in the crowd, she found me. Then, in front of my whole class, she kissed me. "Fang Yuan, happy graduation." Beside us, Haozi started whooping. "Sister-in-law is here. Sister-in-law is here." Bai Ningbin was pushed into the front row. That graduation photo she took with me caught her smiling so hard her eyes nearly disappeared. I had one arm around her shoulders. Later, I kept that photo in my wallet. I kept it there until the wallet wore out and still never threw it away. After graduation, I did not go anywhere else. I joined an intelligent hardware company. After I became a regular employee, my salary was 8,000 yuan, enough for Bai Ningbin and me to get by. It was enough to buy her a few little things she liked. The day my first month's salary came in, I withdrew it all. The cash made a thick stack. Red bills. I stuffed the money in my pocket and went to the milk tea shop to pick Bai Ningbin up from work. She was still behind the counter, wiping cups. When she saw me arrive, she instinctively tried to run out. Sister Joe called her back. "Finish wiping the cups before you go." She shrank back again. She sped up her movements. She wiped each cup until it shone. She held it up to the light for a look. Only after making sure there were no watermarks did she set it down. At the clothing store, Bai Ningbin stopped at the entrance and would not move. She lowered her head and looked at herself. That faded floral dress, washed nearly white, had a small hole in the sleeve. Without thinking, she tugged at the sleeve, trying to hide it. "Why are we here?" she asked softly. "To buy clothes. I have clothes to wear." "You have worn that floral dress since high school. You have worn that floral dress since high school. Think I'm a collector." I pulled her inside and took several pieces from the racks, stuffing them into her arms. She dawdled in the fitting room for ages before coming out. She was wearing a pale yellow dress. She looked at me, completely at a loss. "Turn around." She slowly turned once. "Does it look good, ugly?" Her face fell at once. Ugly was a joke. "It looks good. We are buying it." That night, I took her through 3 stores. I bought 2 dresses, 1 jacket, a pair of shoes, and a pair of silver stud earrings. From the moment Bai Ningbin put them on, she never took them off. Every night before sleep, she had to touch them, to make sure they were still there. Later, she wore those earrings for 3 years. Even when the rhinestones were scuffed, she still refused to replace them. The weekend after I got paid, I rode my little electric scooter and took Bai Ningbin to the seaside. My little electric scooter was second-hand. It cost me 7,800 yuan. I bought it from a graduating student at school. The body was blue. Several patches of paint had peeled off. One rearview mirror was crooked. The horn worked only when it felt like it. When it ran, it clanged and rattled, like a pile of scrap metal singing. Bai Ningbin sat on the back seat. One hand clutched the hem of my shirt. The other stretched into the air. The wind slipped through her fingers. It blew her hair everywhere. "It's flying away," she shouted. Her voice scattered in the wind. She laughed like a fool. "Can you stop yelling? The whole street is staring at you. But I am happy. If I am happy, the whole world should know." After saying that, she shouted again, even louder this time. "Fang Yuan is a big idiot. Bai Ningbin, are you asking for it?" I twisted the throttle. The little electric scooter lurched forward. Bai Ningbin cried out. Both hands locked tightly round my waist. Her whole body pressed against my back. She laughed until she trembled all over. She took off her shoes and stepped onto the sand. Whenever the waves rolled in, she screamed and jumped back. Then she leaped onto me. Both feet off the ground, she clung to me and refused to come down. She said there was something in the water, biting her toes. I glanced into the water. There was nothing there. I looked again. I looked down, and found there was nothing at all. By Ningbing, there is nothing in the water. There is. It bit me. It hurts so much. My toes are still right here. It bit me and left. Keep making it up. Go on. She wrapped her arms around my neck. She leaned her face closer. She stopped just before the tip of her nose touched mine. Her eyes were shining, with a childish little slyness in them. Then will you carry me back? I do not want to step in the water anymore. Do you not have feet of your own? I do. But I do not want to use them. In the end, I really did carry her back to shore. Other couples were walking along the beach. When they saw us like that, some laughed quietly. Some rolled their eyes. Some girls tugged at their boyfriend's arms and said, "Look at him." By Ningbing heard them. She buried her face in my shoulder. Her ears were red, but the corners of her mouth lifted sky high. That period was when we looked most like a normal couple. We ate together. We went shopping together. We watched movies together. In the theater, she often could not follow the plot. Halfway through, she would ask me, "Is this person good or bad?" I would explain for 5 minutes. She would nod, then 10 minutes later ask again. After the movie ended, she remembered nothing, except that the popcorn tasted good. Every night before bed, she would kiss me once, sometimes on the lips, sometimes on the cheek, sometimes on the forehead. The place was random, but she never missed a day. It was the same when we woke in the morning. She woke earlier than I did. After waking, she would not call me. She would just lie on her side and watch me. When I woke up, she would lean over and kiss me. Her voice was soft. "Good morning." I admit it. That stretch of time was the happiest of my life. Not because work was going especially well. Not because I was making much money. But because every morning, someone said good morning to me. And every night, someone waited for me to come home. In 2 years, I went from project assistant to project manager. It sounds so easy when you say it. But in those 2 years, how much hair I lost. How many all-nighters I pulled. How many times I slammed the table in meeting rooms. How much pressure I was under. Only I knew. 8,000 became 28,000. Our rental went from a 1-bedroom to a 3-bedroom apartment. The little electric scooter was replaced by a second-hand car. Even if it was second-hand, at least on rainy days, I no longer had to ride home in wet clothes and still end up soaked through. On moving day, Bai Ningbing was thrilled. She spun around the new place several times. She touched every corner. Finally, she stood on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. Then she said something that made me freeze. "Fang Yuan, it is so high up here. If I fall one day, will you catch me?" Why would you fall for no reason? Are you a spinning top? I mean if. There is no if. If you fall, I will jump down and catch you. She turned to look at me. Street light poured in through the window. It fell across her face. I could not quite see her expression, but her voice was very clear. "Then, would we both die?" "Yes, so do not fall." She thought about it for a long time. Then she said, "Then I will not fall, because I am afraid you will die." Bai Ningbing was still working at the milk tea shop. I did not really want her to keep going. Not because I looked down on how little she earned, but because watching her stand for 8 or 9 hours every day and come home, with both feet swollen, sometimes with fingers scalded by boiling water, saying nothing, until I took her hand and found a blister on her palm. "Do not go anymore," I told her one night. I said to her, "I make enough for both of us now." Bai Ningbing was washing dishes. Her hands paused for a moment. Then she kept washing. She washed that bowl inside and out 3 times, before putting it on the drying rack. "Then, what about my dowry?" she said very softly. My hand paused. Every time the word dowry came from her mouth, it felt as if someone had stabbed a needle into my heart. "We do not need a dowry, but I want to give one. I want to save it myself. Save a lot, enough to buy a house." She turned to look at me. Water was still dripping from her hands. "A house with a yard. Flowers in the front, vegetables in the back. We will live inside it and never go anywhere." Later, Sister Jo helped introduce her to a job at a flower shop. After Bai Ningbing went there, her eyes lit up. Every day, she came home smelling of flowers. That day was a Saturday. My parents and Bai Ningbing's parents came together. They said they had come to see us. Fang Yuan's mother brought pickled vegetables and cured pork she had made herself. Bai Ningbing's mother brought a big bag of free-range eggs. The moment they came in, their eyes all swept over our apartment. Fang Yuan's mother's gaze moved from the living room to the bedroom. Finally, it landed on the balcony, on two pieces of clothing hanging side by side. One white shirt, one floral dress. Fang Yuan's mother said nothing, but her expression said everything. Bai Ningbing worked in the kitchen all afternoon. She made 8 dishes. When she carried the food out, her apron was still on. A thin sheen of sweat covered her forehead. We had only taken a few bites when Fang Yuan's mother set down her chopsticks and fired the first shot. Fang Yuan, do you and Ningbing have any plans? Mommy, do not start this. Fang Yuan's mother shot me a glare, then turned to Bai Ningbing. Ningbing, you and Fang Yuan have been together for so many years. What do you think about it? Bai Ningbing was eating with her head down. When she heard that, she lifted her head with rice still in her mouth, glanced at Fang Yuan's mother, then lowered her head again, and slowly chewed the rice in her mouth. I want to be with Fang Yuan, she said softly. Then get married, Annie cut in. Her tone carried a kind of urgency, almost as if she were begging. You two have been together for so many years. What is there left to wait for? Fang Yuan's father spoke to. Fang Yuan, your mother and Annie are right. Your job is stable now. It is time to settle down. Let me tell you. Listen to me. If you dare treat Ningbing badly, I will be the first to disown you as my son. Bai Ningbing's mother wiped the corner of her eye. Her voice trembled a little. Fang Yuan, Annie is not trying to rush you. Annie just cannot stop worrying. You know Ningbing's condition. In this life, she recognizes only you. If you do not want her anymore, what will she do? She could not go on. She covered her mouth with the back of her hand. Her eyes rimmed red. The projects on my plate were not finished yet. 2 major projects were weighing on me. I barely even had time to sleep. How could I have the headspace to think about marriage? No one is asking you to get married tomorrow. Just make things official first. What does make things official mean? Getting engaged, or registering the marriage. Once we get engaged, you will start pushing for the wedding. After the first child, you will push for a second. Mom, are you ever going to stop? What is that supposed to mean? I am doing this for your own good. I know you mean well, but can you stop doing this every time? I know what I am doing with my own life. When it is time to get married, I will. I do not need all of you pushing me. Fang Yuan's father set his glass down on the table. Is that any way to talk to your mother? I am not talking to her in any particular way. I am just stating a fact. I am very busy right now. I am under huge pressure. 2 projects are sitting on my shoulders. If anything goes wrong, I am the one responsible. Every day, when I open my eyes, it is client demands, R&D schedules, and my boss's mood. When I close my eyes, my mind is still running through tomorrow's meeting agenda. You think I am dragging my feet on purpose? I genuinely do not have the energy. Bai Ningbing's father spoke. In a very soft voice, he said, Uncle understands that you're busy with work, but Uncle knows. Ningbing has waited for you for many years, and because she has waited this long, I want to do right by her. I want to finish these 2 projects, get the bonus payout, and buy her a real home. Fang Yuan, Ningbing doesn't care about those things. But I care. My voice suddenly rose. Bai Ningbing flinched in fright. Her shoulders jerked inward. Her eyes turned red again. When I saw her red-rimmed eyes, it felt as if someone had poured a bucket of ice water over my heart. I went cold from head to toe. In that instant, my anger seemed to have its pause button pressed. It stopped right there, neither rising nor falling. Stuck there until it hurt. I care. I had said those words, but I had said them the wrong way. My voice was too loud. My tone was too harsh. My expression was too ugly. I had shouted at both sets of parents. Shouted at Bai Ningbing. Shouted at the table of food she had spent all afternoon making. The dinner table fell silent. No one mentioned marriage again. But Bai Ningbing did not say another word. She kept her head lowered, eating the rice in her bowl 1 bite at a time. She barely touched the dishes. After dinner, I took my parents to their hotel. Bai Ningbing's parents went back to the rental apartment. When I came back, Bai Ningbing had already washed the dishes. She was sitting on the sofa, holding that old stuffed bear. The television was on, but there was no sound. When she heard the door open, she turned and glanced at me. Her lips moved, but in the end, she said nothing. She turned her head back again. I walked over and sat beside her. There was enough space between us for another person. I wasn't aiming that at you just now, I said. I am really under a lot of pressure. What do you mean, Say something. She lowered her head. Her fingers twisted round and round the bear's fuzzy ear. She twisted it for a long time. At last, she said, I know you were not aiming it at me, but you still snapped. She lifted her head and looked at me. Her eyes were still red. Though she was not crying. You snapped at me. I opened my mouth, but not a single word came out. That night, we went to bed like usual. She curled into my arms like usual, and kissed me before sleep like usual. But that kiss was different from before. It was very light, very quick, as if she were completing a ritual. After the kiss, she turned away, with her back to me, curling herself into a tiny ball. I reached out, wanting to pull her into my arms. Her hand moved slightly under the blanket. She did not hold my hand, but she did not push me away either. She just left it there, like a fallen leaf, not knowing where it would land. One afternoon a week later, the company organized a Seaside team building outing. I brought Bai Ningbing with me. There were not many people at the seaside. The autumn wind had already turned cold. Bai Ningbing stepped barefoot on the wet sand, walking very slowly. Her left hand held my right, our fingers interlaced. But today, she was very quiet. She had been unhappy for a whole week. Of course I could tell. I was not blind. I was not made of wood either. I knew what she was thinking. She was thinking, why won't Fang Yuan marry me? Is there something wrong with me? Or does he not want to be with me anymore? Or does he have someone else? That little mind of hers must have been turning those questions over every day, thinking until she could not sleep, thinking until her eyes turned red, thinking until the hand gripping mine held tighter and tighter, as if she feared I would suddenly disappear. But right now, I truly had no strength to answer her. The projects were already enough to drive me crazy. The client changed requirements every day. R&D kept dumping the work. Management played mediator in the middle, but could not solve a single problem. Two projects were pressing down on me at once. I was even working overtime on weekends. Every day. By the time I got home, it was already the dead of night. Bai Ningbing was long asleep. All I could see was her small outline curled beneath the blanket. The sound of the waves came again and again, like someone sighing. Bai Ningbing. I spoke first. Have you been unhappy lately? No, you're just terrible at lying. Whenever you are upset, you stop talking, then keep picking at something. You are picking at your own fingers. Did you think I did not see? Her hand paused. I gritted my teeth. Today, I did not care anymore. Today, I had to make this clear. I owed her an explanation. I owed her an answer. I owed her a promise that would let her feel safe. I had just been about to speak when my phone rang. I looked down at the screen, and my brows drew together. Wang Nian, my direct supervisor. Bai Ningbing saw the name too. She lifted her head and looked at me, then lowered her gaze to our interlaced hands. Her hand tightened slightly in my palm, as if saying, do not answer, and also as if saying, it is okay. Go ahead and take it. I hesitated for 2 seconds, but I answered anyway. Hello, Wang Nian. Fang Yuan, that proposal you made. The client just called about it. They said it will not work. Scrap it all and redo it. Give me a new version before Monday. Make it fast. My fingers tightened around the phone. My nails dug into the seams of the phone case. Wang Nian, I went over that proposal with the client 3 times. They nodded approval at every version. How can they just say no now? If the client says no, then it is no. If you have a problem, take it up with the client. Do not argue with me. You are the project manager. If there is a problem with the proposal, you are responsible. Before Monday, that is final. The call ended. I stood by the sea. The sea wind lashed against my face, blowing my hair into a mess. My phone screen went dark, then lit up again. It was a message from Wang Nian, sent right after the call. He had copied and pasted the client's feedback. Several hundred words, sprawling across the screen. All of it saying this would not work. That was not right. This had to be redone. That had to be deleted. After I finished reading the message, I locked the phone and clenched it in my hand. Bai Ningbing stood beside me, watching me the whole time. Her expression shifted from expectation to confusion, then from confusion to worry, then from worry into a kind of heartache that made me want to look away. What happened? She asked. Nothing, I said. My voice was a little hoarse. There is a small issue with the client. I just need to revise it before Monday. So let us go back now. I tugged at her hand, wanting to lead her toward the parking lot. I need to work overtime and get the proposal revised. Bai Ningbing did not move. Her feet were buried in the sand. The waves surged in, covering her ankles, then receded. They surged in again, then receded again. She stood there, like a tree planted on the beach. The wind could not budge her. The waves could not move Fang Yuan. Do you not want to be with me anymore? I stopped walking. Why would you think that? Because you are not like before. Her voice drifted in the wind. Before, you would pick me up after work. You would take me out to have fun. But now, when you come home, I am usually already asleep. And when I am awake, you are busy again. The most you say to me is just mmhmm and okay. Besides, it is not that. I am not afraid of you being busy. And I am not afraid of you being under pressure. What scares me is that when you are busy, it feels like you do not need me anymore. It is not that I do not need you. Then do you still want to marry me? She asked it so softly. So softly, it was as if she was afraid of the answer. I do not want to talk about this right now. That sentence again. The instant I said it, even I was sick of myself. Sick of repeating the same line over and over. Banquet lifted her head and looked at me. Her gaze was like she was looking at a stranger. Why? Her voice began to tremble. Before, when I said I wanted to marry you, you nodded. You did. In that rental apartment, on the night I asked you. You did not say anything, but you nodded. I saw it. Did you not say that before? Before was before. Now is now. What is different? Before, I would go soft-hearted. I would coax you. I would pick you up after work. And now, my temper is getting worse and worse. I have less and less patience when I talk to you. Do you think someone like me can marry you? Banquet's lips began to tremble. I can change. How am I supposed to change? Now, every day. The moment I open my eyes, it is work. And when I close my eyes, it is still work. I cannot even take care of myself. How am I supposed to take care of you? I do not need you to take care of me. You do. You need me more than anyone. Do you think I do not know? When you are hurt at the flower shop, you will not tell me. Do you think I do not know you wake up from nightmares in the middle of the night, but do not dare call me? Because you are afraid of disturbing my sleep. My voice exploded across the beach. Banquet's eyes reddened. Tears began to fall. Banquet, I do not want to lie to you. I am so tired that sometimes I think, without me, you might be better off. You're the one talking nonsense. Look at yourself now. You wait for me until midnight every day. You do not sleep well, and the shadows under your eyes keep getting darker. Look at these past 2 years. What have I given you? A boyfriend who cannot even take you to the seaside, without work interrupting us. I do not care about that. But I care. I roared it out. Banquet staggered back a step under my shouting, stumbling in the sand. Banquet, I think maybe we really are not right together. Her pupils suddenly shrank. What did you say? I said we are not right together. You deserve someone better. Someone who will not make you wait. Someone who will not make you cry. That person is not me. I kept talking. Ever since I was little, I have been unreliable. Ever since I was little, I have never known how to speak properly. Ever since I was little, I have taken your kindness for granted. I owe you too much. So much that in this lifetime, I can never repay it. I told you to stop. She covered her ears. Tears streamed from her eyes. If it really will not work, I said, my voice as light as a falling leaf, then let us break up. The instant those words left my mouth, I heard the sound of something shattering. Banquet slowly lowered her hands from her ears. The way she looked at me, I will never forget it in this life. It was not anger. It was not hurt. It was blank confusion, like a 3-year-old child, abandoned in a completely unfamiliar place, not knowing which way to go. What did you say? Let us break up. You go your way, and I will go mine. We will owe each other nothing. She chewed over those words once. Fang Yuan, tell me. I waited for you for so long. How are you going to repay what you owe me? What will you use to pay back all those years? You say you owe me. So, why are you paying me back with the breakup? Stay and pay me back slowly. A whole lifetime would be enough. She was about to break apart. I took a deep breath. It felt as if a boulder were pressing on my chest. Every breath took all my strength. I am tired. I am really so tired. So tired that sometimes I wonder if you ruined me. And ruin yourself too. You say you are tired. You say I ruined you. I am telling the truth. My voice was cold as ice. Then tell me, how did I ruin you? You ruined every part of me. The moment those words came out, even I was startled. Banquet looked as if someone had slapped her. Her whole body swayed. The light in her eyes went out in that instant. If not for you, I would not have started working and saving money at 18. If not for you, I would not have turned down every social event for 4 years of college, just to video call you every day. If not for you, I would not have started killing myself to earn money the moment I graduated. pushing myself until I could barely breathe. Bai Ningbing, tell me, did you ruin me or not? Bai Ningbing said nothing. She looked at me. Tears slid down her face and fell into the sand. But you loved me, she suddenly said. Can you really say you do not love me? You say I ruined you. You say that without me, I would live better. Fine. But Fang Yuan, if you love me, what right do you have to throw me away? My feet felt nailed to the beach. You love me. You love me. So much you do not even know how much. You love me. So much that you can say hateful things to me and still cover me with a blanket when I am asleep. You love me. So much that when I kiss you, you do not dare push me away. You love me. So much that your eyes turn red over my dowry. You cannot fool me. I believe you when you say I ruined you. I believe that too. Because I really cannot do anything right. Her voice stopped. I stopped walking. The sea wind poured into my ears. I turned around. Bai Ningbing was kneeling on the beach. Her knees had sunk into the sand. Her whole body looked folded in half. Her upper body bent down. Her forehead almost touching the sand. Both hands lay limp at her sides. She did not cry out loud. Her mouth was open, but no sound came out. It was like a silent scream. Her body was shaking. All of her was trembling, like a leaf shivering in a storm. The sea wind blew her hair everywhere. A few strands clung to her damp face. She knelt there, so small, so weightless, as if the wind might carry her away in the next second. I looked at that small figure kneeling on the beach, shaking without end. Tears crawled all over my face. I wanted to walk over. I took one step, then stopped again. It was not that I did not want to go to her. I was afraid. I was afraid that once I walked over, everything would start all over again. I was afraid I would give her hope, then crush that hope with my own hands. I was afraid I would find out I could never give her what she wanted. And all she wanted was me, a man with an ever worse temper, a heart growing harder and harder, whose work could even interrupt a trip to the seaside with her. An ordinary me. Did I deserve that? I took another step, then stopped again. The waves surged up again and again, then retreated. Bai Ningbing was still kneeling there, holding that same posture, like a statue forgotten by the sea, and I stood dozens of steps away from her, my face covered in tears, my heart full of shards. The sea wind grew stronger. I lifted my head and looked at the moon in the sky, already paling. I took a deep breath. I took another step. This time, I did not stop. After we came back from the seaside that day, I did not go home. I drove to the building below my company and sat in the car for a long time. My face was reflected in the rearview mirror. My eyes were red, with dark shadows under them, like a ghost that had just crawled out of a grave. I went upstairs, turned on the computer, and started revising the proposal. I was the only person on the entire floor. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The client's feedback was simple. It did not feel right for words, and the proposal I had spent 3 weeks on was useless. I felt nothing at all. I was like a machine running a preset program. At 4 in the morning, I finished the first revision. I sent it over. The other side did not reply. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. My mind was full of Bai Ningbing kneeling on the beach. I opened my eyes, picked up my phone, and saw 147 unread WeChat messages. All of them were from Bai Ningbing. They started at 6 yesterday evening and continued until 11 at night. I tapped the first one. Fang Yuan, when are you coming back? Your co-worker took me home. Do not worry. I scrolled down. I made dinner. I made the sweet and sour pork ribs you like. I added sugar twice. It should be very sweet. Why are you not answering me? Are you still angry? I was wrong. I should not have said those things to you at the seaside. Please do not be angry anymore, okay? The food got cold. I will heat it up for you. It is warm now. When are you coming back? I heated it again. Then came voice messages. I opened one. Her voice came from the phone and echoed through the empty office. Fang Yuan, please answer the phone. I will only say one thing. After that, I will stop talking. Please do not abandon me. Her voice was hoarse, obviously from crying. The next one said, it is raining outside. Did you bring an umbrella? You definitely did not. I will go. Bring you an umbrella. But I do not know how to call a car. She did not know how to call a car. I had taught her. I had taught her many times. Every time, she nodded and said she remembered. But the next time, she still could not do it. The next message was already from 1 in the morning. I woke up, and you still had not come back. I had a dream. I dreamed you did not want me anymore. Please do not abandon me, okay? The last text message came at 2:17 in the morning. Fang Yuan, I left all the lights on. That way, when you come back, you will not bump into anything. I locked the screen and set the phone face down on the desk. At 9 the next morning, the client replied, "Still not right. Revise it again." I stared at that line for a long time and replied with one word, "Okay." The next day, I still did not go home. On the third day, I did not either. I poured all my energy into that proposal. I could not stop. If I stopped, I would think about other things. If I thought about them, it would hurt. If it hurt, I would want to go home. And if I went home, my heart would soften. At 4 in the afternoon on the third day, I sent over the final version of the proposal. This time, the client said it was acceptable. Proceed with this version. I stared at the word acceptable for a full 5 minutes. 2 words, and I had gone 3 days without sleep for them. I stood up and walked to the window. I pulled open the blinds. The sunlight stabbed my eyes until I squinted. People came and went on the street below. I had nowhere to go. I picked up my phone and opened my chat with Bai Ningbing. The last message was from 8 that morning. "Good morning, Fang Yuan. The sun is lovely today. I took the quilt out to air in the sun. When you come back, the quilt will smell nice." I stood there holding my phone for a long time. Sunlight fell across my face. It was warm, but I felt cold. Cold from the bones outward. At last, I replied with one message. "Wait for me at home." The moment I sent it, I regretted it. I grabbed my jacket and went downstairs. Bai Ningbing had cried at home for 3 days. She told me that later. But that day, as I stood at the company entrance, 10 meters away, and saw her climb out of a taxi, I could already tell. I could see her eyes were swollen. Her eyelids looked like 2 little steam buns, squeezing her eyes into thin slits. Her hair hung loose in a mess. Several strands stuck to her face. She was wearing an oversized t-shirt. It was mine, and the hem almost reached her knees. Below it, she wore pajama pants. On her feet were slippers, one on each foot mismatched. She just stood there at the company entrance. Bright sunlight poured over her body, casting her shadow onto the gray concrete, small and crooked. The instant she saw me, her whole body seemed frozen in place. Fang Yuan, Her lips were trembling. Her chin was trembling. Her fingers were trembling. There was not a single part of her that was not shaking. "I am so stupid." She forced out a smile. The corners of her mouth lifted, but her eyes curved downward, full of wet shine. "I cannot even call a car." Her voice was breaking. Every syllable trembled. "Ha ha, I messed up." She lowered her head. After saying that, she suddenly crouched down. Not slowly. She dropped down all at once. Her whole body collapsed in an instant. She crouched on the concrete outside the company entrance, covering her face with both hands. Her shoulders heaved violently. A muffled, choke sob escaped from her throat. "I messed up. I cannot do anything right. I only make you tired. I make you annoyed. I make you not want to come home. I messed up. I messed us up." I stood 10 meters away from her. Sunlight passed between us. She crouched there, so small, so light. My heart had never hurt like that before. It was not a sharp pain. It surged up from the deepest place inside me. A raw, metallic pain that made it impossible to breathe. What was I doing? How could I treat her like this? She did not know how to call a car. She was wearing pajama pants and slippers. How far had she come? She said an Annie helped her. The Annie from across the hall. An outsider. An outsider had called a car for my girlfriend to come find me, because I had left her alone at home for 3 days without answering her calls, without replying to her messages. I had left her alone, in a city she barely knew. She even got nervous crossing the street. She did not even dare turn off the lights at night. And I had left her alone in that apartment for 3 days. I moved my legs and walked toward her. 10 meters, 9 meters, 8 meters. My footsteps rang across the empty plaza. Every step felt like I was treading on my own heart. 5 meters, 3 meters, 1 meter. I crouched down. She was still crying. Both hands covered her face. Her shoulders kept shaking. "I messed up. Please do not abandon me." Bai Ningbing. She did not hear me. Bai Ningbing. I called her again. Her shoulders paused. Slowly, bit by bit, she lowered her hands and lifted her head to look at me. Her face was covered in tears. Her eyelashes were stuck together. The tip of her nose was red. Her whole face looked as if it had been soaked in water. She looked at me, as if she were seeing something lost and found again. She could hardly believe it. Even her breathing went quiet. "Do not cry." I reached out and wiped the tears from her face with the back of my hand. but my hand was shaking. Did I not tell you to wait for me at home? Why did you come all the way here? I was afraid you would not come back. Her voice was as tiny as a mosquito's buzz. I was afraid you were lying to me. You have lied to me many times before. I wanted to see you in person and ask you face to face whether you really do not want me anymore. Her tears spilled out again, falling silently. Fang Yuan, if you really do not want me anymore, I will leave. I will not cling to you. I will go back home. Tell me the truth. I can take it. Stop talking. I reached out and pulled her up from the ground. Her body was very light, too light for someone in her 20s. After she stood up, she did not throw herself into my arms. Instead, she took one step back. That single step felt like someone had dragged a knife across my chest. I am dirty, she said with her head lowered. I have not bathed for 2 days. I left in such a hurry today. I did not change clothes. I am wearing pajamas. I forgot again. I came by taxi. The Annie helped me call it. I do not know how to use that app. You taught me before. I wrote it down on paper, but I could not find that paper. I looked for it for so long. Then I started crying. I did not want to cry, but the tears came out on their own. Stop saying that. I have to say it. She lifted her head and looked at me, stubbornness in her eyes. It was so hard for me to finally see you. I have to finish. You have never hurt me. You are the best person in my whole life. You brought me out of the village and taught me how to use a phone. You taught me how to ride the subway. You bought me clothes and earrings. You took me to the botanical garden and the seaside. You stayed with me all these years. By Ningbing, let me finish. She took a deep breath. Her chest rose and fell sharply. Fang Yuan, I know I am very stupid. I cannot remember the ride-hailing app. I cannot remember the bank password. I cannot remember your phone number. I only remember your name, because I never had to memorize your name. It grew inside my mind long ago. I cannot pull it out. She poked her temple with one finger. There is one growing here. You have been growing there since I was 3. You have grown together with everything else. I cannot separate you anymore. If you do not want me anymore, you would have to cut this part out. But if you cut it out, I will have nothing left. The nickname you gave me is by dummy. If you do not want me anymore, I will not even have a name. As she spoke, her voice began to tremble again, but she bit her lip hard. So hard her lips turned pale. So please do not abandon me, okay? If you think I am stupid, then teach me. I learn slowly, but I am willing to learn. If you are busy, I can wait for you my whole life. If you are tired, I will take care of you. I am willing to do anything. Just do not abandon me. Okay, she lifted her head. Those swollen, ruined eyes looked at me. She was asking me, okay, again. That one little word. She had asked me for so many years. Every time, she asked so carefully. Every time, she was ready to be rejected. And every time she was rejected, she would say, then I will wait longer. Then she kept waiting, kept saving her dowry, kept learning how to do makeup. I looked at her face. Sunlight fell across it, making her tears shine. There was a faint bite mark on her lip, with a thin trace of blood. My nose stung. My eyes burned. Something fell from them. What the hell was I doing? My voice was shaking. How could I? How could I dare treat you like this? Bai Ningbing saw me crying. Her pleading expression turned to heartache. Then the heartache turned to panic. She reached out, wanting to wipe my tears. But her hand was shaking too. After several tries, she still missed. Fang Yuan, do not cry. If you cry, I want to cry too. I have cried enough. These past 2 days, I have cried a whole lifetime of tears. As she said that, she started crying again. The two of us stood face to face at the company entrance, both crying, a complete mess. I will not leave. I said it in a hoarse voice, almost too rough to hear. Bai Ningbing, I will not leave. I will never leave again. The moment I said those words, I felt the wall built up in my chest for 3 days finally collapse. I will never leave again. I am not going anywhere. I will stay right by your side. If you are slow, I will teach you. If you cannot learn it, I will teach you again. If you cannot call a car, I will call it with you. If you cannot find the way, I will walk with you. If you cannot do anything right, it is okay. I will do it. Bai Ningbing froze. Her mouth hung open. Tears still clung to her face, but her eyes went from despair to disbelief, then slowly lit up from disbelief. What did you say? I said I am not leaving. Did you hear me clearly? Bai Ningbing, I will never leave again. She looked at me. Her lips trembled for a long time. Do you mean it? Really? You are not lying to me. I swear I am not lying. I swear. At last, she stopped speaking. Then with a wail, she suddenly threw herself at me. Both arms locked tightly round my neck. Her whole body hung from mine. She buried her face in my shoulder and sobbed out loud. It was not like before. Not that suppressed kind of crying. This was released. Reckless. A child's full, helpless sobbing. Her tears ran down my neck. Her body was burning hot, shaking like a washing machine someone forgot to turn off. I am so stupid. Fang Yuan, I even needed someone else's help just to come find you. You are useless, and I am useless too. Then we make a perfect pair. I do not want you to be useless like me. You have to be useful. You still have to save money and buy me a house. All right, I will save. And you have to treat my illness. All right, I will treat it. Am I really sick? Sometimes you are sick. Sometimes you are not. Depends on your mood. My words made her want to cry and laugh at once. In the end, she hiccuped from crying and lifted her face from my shoulder. Her face was covered in tears and snot. A complete mess. She wiped her face with her sleeve. Then she looked at me, the corners of her mouth slowly curving up. She showed me that smile I knew better than anything. That silly, flat little smile. Fang Yuan, kiss me. Yes, right now, right here. I lowered my head and kissed her forehead. It was cool, with the scent of orange shampoo and the salt of tears. Not the forehead. I kissed the tip of her nose. Not the nose either. She rose onto her toes. Sunlight poured from behind her, gilding her outline into a golden silhouette. Strands of her hair drifted in the wind. Every one of them seemed to glow. Her eyes were bright as the stars. Undried tears still clung to her lashes. Here, she said, pointing at her lips. I looked into her eyes. The eyes I had seen countless times since childhood. In those eyes, there was me. From the very beginning, only me. I kissed her. Her lips were soft, wet, and tasted of tears. Her hands climbed onto my shoulders. Her fingers gripped my collar, tighter and tighter, as if afraid I would vanish in the next second. The older security guard at the company entrance poked his head out of the guard booth, took one look, then ducked back in. People by the road were watching. Some were taking photos. I could not hear anything. I could only hear her crying, laughing, and calling my name. Fang Yuan, Fang Yuan. How many times are you going to call it? Until you do not leave. I told you. I am not leaving. Then let me call you one more time. Go ahead, Fang Yuan. Her voice was still hoarse, thick with tears and a nasal rasp. But that smile truly rose from the bottom of her heart. Impossible to hold back, so bright it almost hurt to look at. I am here, I said. When she heard those words, she cried again. But this time she did not hide. She did not crouch down. She did not cover her face. She just stood there in the sunlight, standing right in front of me, crying as she smiled, smiling as she cried. My dummy. She had been my dummy since we were 3. In the distance, the sunlight was just right. So, was the wind? I tightened my grip on her hand. Our fingers interlaced, palm against palm. Come on, let us go home. Home, are the sweet and sour pork ribs you made still there? They are. I saved them for you. We just need to heat them up. You did not add too much salt, did you? Not this time. I tasted them lots of times. Then that is fine. Let us go. Fang Yuan. What now? From now on, you are not allowed to stay away from home, okay? You are not allowed to ignore my calls, okay? And you are not allowed to say breakup. Did you hear me? I heard you. I heard you. Okay. She smiled, and I smiled too. The sunlight stretched our shadows long, so long, overlapping them together, like a knot that could never be undone. Only later did I find out that she had run out from home that day. The Annie from across the hall asked what was wrong. She said Fang Yuan was gone. The Annie thought it was an ordinary fight and comforted her, saying it was all right. It would be better in a couple of days. She said no, he does not want me anymore. This time, he really does not want me anymore. The Annie helped her call a taxi and gave the driver 100 yuan. She told him to make sure Bai Ningbing got there safely. Bai Ningbing was still crying when she got in. The driver asked where she was going. She gave him the company name. She had only been there once, but she remembered it. She remembered. She could not even use a ride-hailing app, yet she remembered a place she had visited only once. She said my name had grown into her mind, rooted so deep it could not be pulled out. I thought she had grown into every corner of my body too. In my veins, in my bones, in every beat of my heart. She had been there since we were 3, on that field ridge. From the moment she pulled me up, she had grown there then. Grown together with me. until we could no longer be separated. It only took me 22 years to finally admit it. That night, I ate the best sweet and sour pork ribs of my life. The ribs had been reheated twice. The meat was a little tough, but the flavor was perfect. Not too salty, not too bland. By Ningbing sat across from me, watching me eat. Her chin rested on the tabletop. Both hands lay flat on the table, like a puppy sprawled there. Is it good? What does MMHMM mean? It is good. How good? Extremely good. Better than your mom's? You are getting cocky, she giggled. Then she quieted down and looked at me for a long time. Fang Yuan, can we stop fighting from now on? Okay. Even if we fight, you are not allowed to stay away from home. Okay. And you are not allowed to ignore my calls. Okay. And no saying breakup. I set down my chopsticks and looked at her. Okay. She smiled, her eyes curving sweetly. Then she reached out and hooked her pinky around mine. A pinky promise. How old are you? Still doing pinky promises. Are we doing it or not? Fine. Pinky promise. Pinky promise, no take-backs. Her little finger was thin, cool as it hooked around mine. It felt like such a tiny promise. So light I could barely feel it. Yet so heavy no one could pull it apart. Outside the window, countless homes glowed with light. Inside, the ribs filled the room with fragrance. My phone buzzed. It was a message from the client. Confirm the proposal details again. Meeting tomorrow morning. I glanced at it, locked the screen, and placed the phone face down on the table. Who was it? Bai Ningbing asked. Nothing. We will talk about it tomorrow. She looked at me and nodded. Then she went back to eating. I watched her lower her head and scoop rice into her mouth. Her hair slipped from behind her ear and covered half her face. She ate very slowly, lifting each grain of rice to her mouth one by one, as if she were tasting something extraordinary. I thought, if I did not want her, who else would? She could not even call a taxi. She could not even remember her bank password. When the traffic light changed, she did not even know whether to walk or stop. She would be tricked by people who seemed kind to her, tricked by people who said it was fine, while secretly despising her in their hearts, tricked by this world full of traps. I did not want her to be tricked. I thought, I was done for, caught in her hands for life. If I was caught, so be it. Since we were 3, on that field ridge, from the moment she pulled me up, I had already been done for. It just took me 22 years to finally lower my head and look at myself. The roots beneath my feet had sunken long ago, deep into the earth, twined together with hers. I was already tangled up with her. We could not be separated anymore. She suddenly lifted her head. What are you thinking about? I was thinking of you. Then she blushed, badly. The red spread from her cheeks to the tips of her ears, bright as a boiled shrimp. Why you? What is wrong with you today? She stammered. You never used to say things like that. I did not before. I will say them more from now on. She stared at me for several seconds, then abruptly lowered her head and buried her face in her bowl. Her voice came out muffled. Stop saying that. I cannot eat. Why? My heart is beating too fast. I can't eat, I said with a laugh. I reached out and rubbed her hair. Her hair was very soft, like the mud we used to play with in the fields when we were little. No, not like mud. Like a cloud, like the one drifting above me when I fell into the field at 3. The cloud that passed over my head. Then eat slowly, I said. I will wait for you. She lifted her head. The corners of her eyes were red, but her lips were curved. The street lights outside the window came on. Orange light spilled through the curtains and fell across her face. I looked at her and suddenly felt that a lifetime might not be that long after all. When I was little, a lifetime felt so far away. So far I did not even dare to imagine it. But now, looking at her face, I felt a lifetime was not so far. It was just walking from age 3 to age 80. From this street to that one. From this room to the next. And before that walk was over, her hand would always be held in mine. If I was caught, so be it. I was willing.